Yo, what's good? What's good? What's good, everybody? How you guys doing? How you guys doing? This your boy, Coach Dante, aka the host of the Coffee and Sports in the Morning show. I got two good group of guys right here, man, that knows they shit, man. So, want y'all to meet my boy Mo, who's on here down there every morning, man, who drops some good knowledge. Y'all stay tuned, man. He got his boxer coming up at the end of the show, man. He broke down. He kind of broke down Shea Mosley yesterday. That was fun. You never know what boxing got up on his mind now. And we got the Wire to Wire Sports host, my boy Gene. How you doing today? How y'all doing today, brothers?
What's good, Gene?
What's popping, y'all? How y'all feeling? Happy to be here with y'all this morning.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So let's go through it, man. Let's do it, fella. So we got the first topic today is who would you rather build a team around right here? Trae Young, Darius, Garland, or you got Lamelo Ball? Mo, start with you.
That's an interesting group, but I've seen what Trae Young brings to the table, what he can do, and I think Darius Garland has a similar skill set, so I would take the potential of a Lamelo Ball. I would build around a Lamelo Ball. He's 6'7", 6'8", has a handle, hasn't even really reached nowhere near his full potential, and even now it's showing you what he can do in terms of creating for others, for himself. Lamelo Ball might end up being a two guard when it's all said and done. I mean, he's that versatile player. I don't think he's locked in as a point. So I look at him ultimately as the better player of the three, and that's why I would build around him.
It's interesting that you started with that one because I immediately ruled out Trae Young. Like, I didn't even think about Trae Young in this three. I don't want to build around him. I don't think he's conducive to winning. I've said that time and time again. He's a very poor shot selector. He's terrible on the defensive end. I don't think we've seen a worse defensive guard since Steve Nash than Trae Young. Trae Young is just absolute liability on the other side of the court. Now, what I had to go against was Darius Garland or Lamelo Ball. Well, I think Darius Garland loves basketball a little bit more. I think Darius Garland is good on both sides of the ball. Not a terrible defender. He could pass the ball. I think he's in a really tough situation with him and Donovan Mitchell in Cleveland. But you're right, Mo. It's got to be Lamelo Ball. Lamelo Ball has the highest ceiling. And if I want to build a team around it, I don't know how far, if I'm building a team around Darius Garland, how far that team can go. Whereas with Lamelo Ball, it's a lot of untapped potential. I think that he can be incredible. I got to see him want to win. I got to see him want to be on the court. Injuries, the Ball, and listen, by no fault of his own, he's from the Ball family. And, you know, when you see LeVar and you see Lonzo and LiAngelo and all the hype around the family and the talk about how great they were going to be, and it kind of turns me off a little bit. And so he kind of gets a perceived slight from me because of his family. And I don't think that's fair. But the truth is, if I have to pick one of the three of them, I'd pick Lamelo.
I got you. Like I said, I'm on point with both of y'all. I also give Lamelo a little bit of a slack because Charlotte isn't a good franchise. They're not a good team. They're not a good team. Period. When he does play on the court and he gets injured because he's so aggressive, you have to do so much because the team isn't built right around him. Hope Brandon Miller can turn into Paul George, what everybody got him listed as. Had for his first big time summer league game. I will say that's his first big time summer league game the other day that he actually played. But the roster construction, terrible around him. The coaching that's not really been good. They haven't found the consistent coach to coach with them. They went through James Borrego. Now they back with Steve Clifford. This is his second stint with those guys. The team, and then you had Miles Bridges coming off his best season, going through trouble off the court. PJ Washington still a free agent. He's out so long. I don't know if he's going to resign back with Charlotte. But other than that, the team is just not built quite around LaMelo Ball pretty much enough. And I'm like I say, he got his money, but I do question how long. I do question him signing that contract because the team is in no hurry to win. The team is not going to win anytime soon. I don't care if the bottom of the East is not that good. They're not a very good team, and the organization is just not a very good team. So I kind of feel bad for LaMelo. So Mo, any last touches up on this topic right here?
No, I think we all covered it. He's got so much untapped potential. He was the easy choice in this one. I mean, the two guys he went up against, I actually like Garland the best of the three, yes. But I'm picking LaMelo because of the untapped potential.
So, like, the point that you just made is I like Garland the best of the three, too. I also think out of the three of them, he has the lowest floor. Like, you know what you're getting with Darius Garland. You're getting 21-7. He did it the year before Donovan Mitchell got there, and he did it the year Donovan Mitchell was there. 21-7. That's good. That's a good floor. I think LaMelo has a lower floor, but a much higher ceiling.
All right. So this next one should be interesting. Gene, I'm starting down here with you. Who is the best defensive point guard of all time?
So I have a clear-cut answer, but before I do that, let me give a shout out to the best defensive point guard in the league right now, yep. Drew Holiday. He's not my answer, but he is
my favorite guy.
I
think I know who Gene's choice is. We actually agree on this one probably.
It's the glove, Gary Payton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The glove is, you watch I don't know what that sounds.
Somebody echoing.
Is that me?
No. But yes. I'm just gonna keep going. But I think it's Gary Payton. I think the glove is the answer, and I think that everything that you need to see him play 90s basketball, defensive player the year before. Guy is absolutely great steals, will lock you up, will get in your face, and he wants the toughest assignment on the basketball court. So I love his competitive instinct. I love how he can get in front of guards. I love how he plays the lane. Gary Payton's one of my favorite players of all time, so I'm going to go with the glove.
So we got in the building this morning. He was over here yesterday. He was in here yesterday, my bad. The new guy, man, Jonathan, and that was you echoing because I muted you and it was you echoing. But other than that, we got the New Orleans Saints fan, man. LSU Tigers. How about them Tigers, man? We got Jonathan in the building. How you doing, brother?
He's muted.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah, you good.
There we go. Sorry about that. Man, I'm doing good this morning. How you guys all doing?
We're doing great, man. We're doing great. Who's the best defensive point guard of all time?
Best defensive point guard of all time. I got to agree with what was just said. Gary Payton. Again, your nickname was the glove. I mean that you don't get that nickname without a reason. And for the guys that he had to guard, and I'm just kind of having to repeat. I mean, he was guarding the best shooters and the best players in the game at that time in the 90s. Again, even when you have Michael Jordan on The Last Dance, talk about one of the toughest guys who had to guard him, and that was Gary Payton. That alone speaks volumes for what your reputation was let alone your skill set, but just your reputation. If you have the greatest of all time, and Michael Jordan saying he was a pest, and how he played me, and how physical he was, and how quick his hands were, his feet, his body control, being able to do what he did, it's got to be hands down because of just the reputation he had. I don't think in today's game you don't have a lot of guys that are like that anymore. That are a little bit of a smaller side, but they're guarding guys 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", that are just as quick and as movement and physical. I think the physical side is going to throw in there about Gary is that he was a physical player as a point guard, guarding shooting guards and small forwards at a time where physicality was at its peak in that era of basketball.
So real quick, I just I wanted to add something.
Go ahead.
So I think that if it wasn't for size, but I think people forget how great Chris Paul was also as a defensive point guard.
That's where I was
nine time all defensive teams. Yep.
I think that I don't want him to miss. Like I know that Mo already said that his favorite was Gary Payton, just like mine, and I see that Jonathan said Gary Payton. So I just before we skipped over him, I didn't want Chris Paul to not get the respect he deserves.
Got you. And we got another guy coming in the building, man. We got Gene. What you call that man? Guard the what? What you call him, Gene? Guard the what? Brett? What you call your boy Brett? Guard the what?
Guard a three.
There we go, guys.
Guard a three was on here.
Hey, good.
What's good? Brett, how you doing?
What's good,
man?
Brett?
I'm doing good. How y'all doing?
We're doing great, man. We doing awesome. Happy to have you on, man. So, who's the greatest defensive point guard of all time, man?
Well, I think the right answer to that is it's just Gary Payton. We're talking about a guy, obviously, we all know he was Defensive Player of the Year, 9-time All-NBA first-team defense. And if you really want to know with, Gary Payton, he just kind of locked everybody up. And if he couldn't lock you up completely, he at least slowed you down. One example of that, too, is Michael Jordan. If we look at MJ and Gary Payton, in the playoffs and regularly, we got MJ would average 33 points on 48% shooting, 33% from three, 82% from the line. But when he matched up against Gary Payton in the postseason, he only averaged 27 a game on 41% shooting and 31% from three. So obviously, he couldn't completely stop someone like MJ, but at the same time, it kind of just gives you an example on how he's able to kind of slow him down and just everybody faced. If he couldn't completely shut him down, he made them all shoot a little worse than they normally do.
Got you. Mo, go ahead.
So I think we all agree about Gary Payton, but I want to touch on what Gene said. So at his peak, there's no question Gary Payton is the guy. I would argue over the breadth of their careers, though, Chris Paul was the best defensive guard in the NBA. Like, we just now started talking about showing signs of slipping defensively, and he's in year 17. So I'm not taking nothing away from the glove, but Chris Paul was not just an elite perimeter defender. He was a pest on big men. There's this thing that coaches teach you as a guard. It's called digging down. Nobody dug down. Nobody got more steals from big men with his quick hands and his strength than Chris Paul. I think Chris Paul, over the breadth of their careers, is actually the greater defensive player.
I love that. Thank you for giving my point guard some credit.
There we go.
That's it. Another fun name I want to throw in there, too, is Sidney Moncrief, winning back-to-back DPOYs in 82, 83. So that, I think maybe if we're talking about maybe one of the greatest peaks defensively from a guard, I think that's another name we got to throw in there.
You can throw in Alvin Robertson, too.
Gotcha.
Alvin Robinson, he used to play for the Spurs. Alvin Robinson was a monster.
I'm going to throw one up in here. He played for the tough Boston Celtics team. Dennis Johnson, 9-time All-NBA defender, 9-time All-Defensive rewards, 5-time All-Star, 3-time NBA champion, was a big part of those Boston Celtics teams, and he was a pest on the defensive side of the ball. So I would go with Dennis Johnson, but Gary Payton. I'll say someone that can lock you down on defense and also give you 20 points a night too, consistently as well. Hell of a point guard. And Freddie said the point guard. Yeah, you heard it. We said the point guard. You heard it, Freddie. You did hear. You heard it right. You heard it. You actually heard it right, Fred. So we got the next one on board is give me. I'm gonna start this with you, Mo. Give me the what is the worst NBA contract of all time and the best? Give me the worst.
There's so many. But I think the one that struck a nerve with me, and this goes back a few years back, but when it first went down, it blew my mind when I think it was the Grizzlies that gave Chandler Parsons like
there we go. I
didn't understand that. He had a basketball season equal to what Daniel Jones had for the Giants, and they gave him almost $100 million, and I didn't understand that. That there's others that came, but that was the one that as soon as I saw that, I didn't understand that.
Yeah. You see what happened when you leave Houston? Yeah, that's karma right there. Yeah. There you go, Mo. Go ahead, Gene. Go ahead.
Coach, if you don't mind, can I go last one? I have 5. And I don't want to take anybody else's.
Gotcha. Since it's all y'all uphill, about like 4 y'all uphill, I'm gonna let y'all eat today. I'm gonna let y'all eat. So, Brett, go ahead. Give me yours.
So I love the Chandler Parsons one. If I had to pick one from 2016 free agency, that one was really bad. The one I wanted to throw out there is actually from 2008. Gilbert Arenas, 6 years, $111 million, just for him to have 3 knee surgeries. He averaged 13 a game on like 38% shooting from the field after that. He only played for like 4 more seasons and then got amnesty claused out of there after getting traded like 4 times. So that was the name I wanted to throw out there is Gilbert's 6-year deal.
It's funny that you said that, Brett, because that was one of my 5 names. Outside of the knee surgeries that he had, he also pulled a gun on a teammate in that contract, and he got suspended for the rest of the season. Then he got traded to Orlando to dump the contract. Gilbert Arenas was one of my favorite players of all time. Agent Zero. I loved what No Chill Gil. Like, I listened to his podcast. He's awesome, but that's a great answer.
Yeah, Chandler Parsons' best years was actually in Houston. Then he fell apart, and he actually fell apart in Memphis. He actually fell apart in Memphis. So yeah, I'm glad Mo put that contract up. That's karma right there. Go ahead, Jonathan. Go ahead.
Probably one of the worst, and it kind of sticks out to me just because he really didn't do a lot of things, and all of a sudden he got a huge contract. And I know there's some Laker fans that are in the group as well as watching. How about Timothy Mozgov? The Lakers gave 4 years, $64 million for a guy who
I remember that.
I mean, really didn't do anything in his career, didn't do anything that really deserved that much money and that even much commitment years-wise, by the Lakers. It was really a free-for-all spending. And I know, Freddie, you just put on there about Luol Deng. It was the same time. They both got the same year. They both got 4 years, $64 million. Luol probably earned a little bit more of that contract prior signing with the Lakers because of what he did in Chicago. But Timothy didn't do anything to really earn a 4 year, $64 million contract. So, I mean, that one, I think it was just a free-for-all spending. The Lakers were like, we got to do something just to try to make people happy. But that was not something that Laker fans, I remember for a fact, were not happy about getting Timothy Mozgov for $64 million.
I'm so glad you guys left me this one. I mean, look, first of all, I could use Todd McCullough. He was the other name on my list. He got a 4 year, $60 million contract to be an absolute bum over in New Jersey. But let's not talk about that. The easiest one for me is the all-time great. I love using all-time greats in questions like this. Y'all remember Sean Kemp, right? Sean Kemp on the Seattle Supersonics was an absolute – the Rain Man was dominant, right? We argued why he didn't make the 90 Dream Team, 92 Dream Team over Gary Payton. He was the best player on that Supersonics team. Well, if you don't remember, in 1997-98, he signed a 7-year contract with the Cleveland Cavaliers for $107 million. And back then, that was a huge deal. Now, his first year in Cleveland, he actually did well. He made the All-Star team, led him to the playoffs. 98-99, he reported to training camp at 315 pounds. Cleveland traded him to Portland to get rid of him in 2000 when Kemp checked into rehab for a cocaine addiction. You want to talk about a terrible contract? The guy gave you 1 season out of that 7-year contract. Then he showed up 315 pounds and then had to check into rehab for cocaine. That's a bad contract, ladies and gentlemen.
Like that one.
Go
ahead.
Another honorable mention that I had that I really hated because he was one of my favorite players to watch in Atlanta, Josh Smith to Detroit.
Oh.
I love Josh Smith, but paying him what you did when you already had Andre Drummond and Greg Monroe on the roster with a guy who needs to be a slasher first, that was never going to age well.
That was a horrible fit, though. That was a crazy fit. You had basically 2 power forwards and 1 center. 1 center actually started. That was actually a bad fit. So I'm gonna go with Allen Crabbe and Evan Turner in Portland. Those are my 2. Those are my guys right there. So
what about Eddie Curry? Remember Eddie Curry?
Eddie Curry, yeah.
Baby Shaq.
Yeah.
I remember all those nicknames, man. Baby Shaq.
Big Shaq, yo, in New York. Yeah, that New York Eddie Curry. Yeah, I remember that. Gene got me on that one. On that point. I like that one. So we're gonna go to the best contracts. Now go ahead, Jonathan. We starting at the bottom.
If someone I gotta go make sure I do a little bit of research, make sure I'm correct on that. So if you can start with somebody else, because I gotta make sure I gotta make sure my facts are correct real fast.
All right, go ahead, Brett.
I'm not going to overthink this one. I think the answer is in 1998, Michael Jordan signed an 8-year, $25 million contract.
That was mine.
By the end of that, in 1995, he was the 32nd highest paid player in the league. Let me name some of the guys that were paid more than him. Benoit Benjamin, Clarence Weatherspoon, Danny Ferry, AC Green. Like, he was so criminally underpaid by the end of that. I think it's right now by far the best value contract, with another honorable mention being Steph Curry in 2013. It's 4-year, $44 million.
Clarence
Weatherspoon
was paid more than Jordan.
In 1995, he's the 32nd highest paid player in the league.
That was travesty. Go ahead, Gene. That's a travesty.
I have the best contract of all time. None of y'all can argue it.
Is it whenever? Go ahead, Gene.
Michael Jordan's contract with Nike. The greatest contract Nike ever signed. He signed a $2.5 million deal for 5 years with 5% royalties. I just need you to understand that for 1 minute. At that time, Nike was 3rd or 4th in the shoe game. He signed a $2.5 million contract with Nike with 5% royalties. That Nike's as a company right now is worth billions and billions of dollars. It's the greatest contract ever signed by an NBA player. But if you want a player signed contract, how about the Scottie Pippen contract that was signed by the Chicago Bulls?
Oh,
I mean,
that's a hometown bargain.
That was a bargain. You want to talk about a bargain? He signed the contract. Michael told him not to sign the contract. Michael's like, bro, you shouldn't be signing that contract. He signed a 7-year contract with the Chicago Bulls. And he was 100% criminally underpaid.
Yep.
The sad part was he took that so personally. I guess and there's so many issues with Jordan and Pippen and everything today. But man, he took that like from what Jordan got to what Pippen kind of took that a little bit offensively too. As it went on and go, wait a minute, how am I not? I'm the second best player. I'm this and that, and I'm being underpaid, and you're going to do all this with Jordan. Well, as you said, everybody warned him not to.
Do you remember the details of that contract? It was 7 years. I want you to think how much he got paid for 7 years. Anyone want to take a guess? I know you don't have Google in front of you. Anyone want to take a guess what he got paid for 7 years? Scottie Pippen, top 50, top 75, greatest all-time player, 6-time NBA champion.
It was like it was like annually $6 million a year.
Way less.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
He got a 7-year, $18 million contract.
Yeah.
The guy was making $2.7 million a year to be one of the 50 greatest NBA players ever to play the game. You want to talk about a bargain? You want to talk about how they got Kukoc to move over? You want to talk about how they got to sign Dennis Rodman or Horace Grant? How they brought in those guys? It's because Scottie Pippen was basically signed to a minimum wage deal in the NBA.
Yeah. And like I said, he took that offensively from everybody else, and he had a grudge with everybody. And it was, I mean, like I said, it's his own fault. It's his agent. I mean, they all warned him, and they took that offensively. And I mean,
Yep.
yeah, what you get.
Go ahead, Mo.
I think Magic's is the best one. Magic signed a $25 million lifetime deal with the Lakers in '82. Lifetime. And think about what he did for them over the breadth of his career. $25 million.
Don't get Mo started on Magic, bro.
That's crazy.
Jonathan, you got yours?
So I'm going to look at it and say I think it's the same thing. I think it's Jordan's contract that he got himself when during and just the magnitude. And I'm going to go a little bit different direction. It's the magnitude of what he accomplished and what he was able to achieve for the NBA in the future. And I think that's something that it's talked about a lot, and a lot of the young guys today do credit Jordan for what we're at in just the marketing side, the guaranteed contracts. All of it is basically credited to what Jordan accomplished and Jordan did throughout his career, helping set up the future of the NBA. And I know Jordan, he'll talk about it. Jordan's talk. It's not something that he even really thinks that he wanted to do for it. It's just something that happened. It happened later on because people around him, like Barkley, like Johnson, they all credited Jordan for what the future was going to look like in the NBA. And the deals that he signed and be able to get. So the Jordan contract on top of the Jordan marketing contract with Nike, as was just stated, how that changed the game and changed the outlook of where we're at in just shoe deals. It was a credit to what he has accomplished and what the Bulls able to get out of it too. Because I mean, nobody's gonna feel sad for Jerry Reinsdorf for the money that he spent on Jordan, but at that time, because of what it created, the brand of the Bulls. And I mean, the Bulls were one of the biggest NBA brands in the 90s because of Jordan too. It was a great setup on both sides and what the future outlook of the NBA became post Jordan's career.
Got you. So we got start, bench, or cut right here. We got Mo's guy, the great Magic Johnson. We got Larry Bird, and we got Steph Curry. Mo, who you going with?
That's a tough one. I mean, just because we all know Steph literally changed the way the game is played. That's as big an impact as you can have. But then we just discussed the other day, the other two guys, they actually save basketball. They save basketball. If they don't do what they do, Steph Curry is somewhere playing like croquet or something. He's not playing basketball. So I'm gonna start
Magic, bro.
I'm gonna start Magic. I'm a bench Bird and I'm gonna cut Steph.
Go ahead, Gene.
I'm gonna start an argument on the show. This is gonna be very, very controversial. But I did this prime versus prime. I did not do this. It's gonna start an argument. It's all right. Prime versus prime, top of their game, peak of their game. I'm starting Bird, I'm benching Curry, and I'm cutting Magic. Listen, Magic over the course of his career, from the entire beginning when it started to the end, probably is the great. He's higher ranked than Steph and Magic on my all-time list. But as far as prime versus prime, there was no Magic that was ever better than 85, 86, 87 Bird. Just call it like it is. That Larry Bird was the best player in the NBA, and he gets criminally underrated for it. If his back did not have such issues at the end of his career, Larry Bird would be a top 3, top 4 player in NBA history. I don't think people realize how good Larry Legend was. I really don't. And I think that people don't need to watch a little bit more. But because in 86, I'm telling you, there's not a player in the NBA that could hold Larry Bird's jockstrap. He was dominating everyone. Let's take it a step further. Why did I cut Magic versus Steph Curry? Steph Curry, the pressure that he puts on your defense, and in the prime of his career, the back-to-back MVP years, he was unstoppable from 3. He was shooting from half court. You had to guard him the entire end of the court. Now, look, Steph's obviously more fragile, has way more ankle injuries than Magic had in his career. He's missed more time season over season than Magic did in his career. But prime versus prime, you're telling me, like, one-on-one, if they're both in their prime, Steph Curry's cooking Magic, cooking him. So I'm starting Bird, I'm benching Curry, and I'm cutting Magic.
All right, Brett.
Yeah, I can agree with that because if we were just looking at overall career comparing all of them, then I'd be cutting Curry. But if we're taking peak versus peak versus peak, then yeah, I would start Bird because a lot of people want to crap on him because a lot of them, talk about his defense. But in 85, 86, he's an all NBA defender. He did it for 3 years straight before the back injury. You're talking an all NBA defender, an elite passer, can score from all three levels at insanely efficient levels. So, yeah, I would start Bird. We're doing all peak, and then I would bench Curry because that 2016 season is still maybe the most insane single offensive season that I've ever seen. What he did that season cannot even be overstated, I don't think. And then I'd have to cut Magic, unfortunately.
All right, Jonathan.
Yeah, I'm agreeing as far as with Larry. I think Larry, as far as a shooter, is or was what Steph is in today's game. I mean, he was the best shooter in an era where three-point shooting really wasn't prevalent. And I mean, he shows up in warm-ups in a three-point contest, doesn't even really, didn't take it really all that serious to stretch and warm up, just showed up in warm-ups and goes and wins a three-point contest. I mean, that's exactly how great of a shooter Larry was, and it sets up the future of guys like Reggie Miller, and we see with Steph and Klay Thompson. Credit to what Larry Bird made as far as, like I said, an era where three-point shooting wasn't really all that high. He was one of the best at it, if not the best of that era. So Larry Bird start. I'm benching Magic. I'm going to bench Magic because overall player, and I know Steph changed the game, and that is something that has to be noted and credited 100% of the time. But overall player for what Magic was, with a ball facilitator, he did score, and a defender. Overall player, I'm giving it a edge over Steph to Magic on that, and I'm cutting Steph Curry.
So I want to just counterpoint to what you just said a minute ago. And it's nothing against – look, I know a lot of people don't go back and watch 80s basketball and watch what Larry Bird did. A lot of people don't realize this. I'm going to give you a stat. Just wondering, how many three-pointers per game do you think Larry Bird made in his career?
Off the top of my head, I wouldn't know that. Off the top of my head.
Brett, don't answer. I know you know the answer.
Two?
That's a good guess. Three-pointers per game. Coach, you want to take a guess on how many he made per game?
I'm gonna say 4.
Throughout his career, Larry Bird made 0.7 three-pointers per game.
I know he didn't take
less than 1 3-pointer per game is what Larry Bird made in his career. I also wanted to comment on what Brett said. Brett said something about people crap on him for his defense. That's a lazy prejudice for people that didn't watch 80s basketball.
Yep.
You look at a goofy-looking white dude, and you think, oh, he couldn't play defense. Like, he couldn't be a good defender. Larry Bird was an all-NBA defender for the prime of his career. And people always rely on it like, well, Larry Bird was just a good shooter, or Larry Bird was a poor defender. None of that's accurate. Larry Bird was a great basketball player. Like, I just invite you guys to watch that more, because if we're really being honest with ourselves, for people to go, oh, Larry Bird was this great three-point shooter, he shot 1.7 three-pointers per game throughout his career. Yeah, he won NBA three-point contests, but if we're really being honest with ourselves, Larry Bird was just a great basketball player.
No, absolutely. Absolutely agree with you on that. But that's why I said, in an era where three-point shooting was not even really cared about, I mean, there was a lot of legends that said he was really great as a three-point shooter, not discrediting the overall talent. I mean, again, that's why I say start him, because of the overall talent of what he was able to do. But again, we call it, because you have someone who's a three-point shooter in Steph. Well, okay, if I have a three-point shooter in Steph, well, I'm picking Larry. Hey, you know what? He was a great three-point shooter in an era where nobody shot threes. So I'm going edgy on that because of that side. But at the same time, like you're saying, he was a all-around basketball player. He was a great basketball player in almost every sense of the 80s that was going on. And not able just to be able to compete at it, but able to dominate and be one of the best of that era.
Well, Jonathan, I wasn't being disrespectful to your comments. I just didn't. What I was trying to say is, like, whenever I hear Larry Bird being discussed in modern NBA conversations, I hear 3-point shooting and I hear poor defense. And I know Brett was alluding to the fact that he was not a poor defender, and that's a stereotype. But whenever I hear that being discussed, I want to just set the record straight for people that just – and listen, I'm 37. I didn't get a chance to watch Bird's whole career. But I'll tell you right now, I was one of those kids that was glued to ESPN Classic. I watched a ton of those old school games to just watch the way they played the game. And listen, Mo will probably know better than me. Mo got to watch it in the late 80s and be intelligent enough to be able to talk about it. But, yeah, I just – from what I've seen, I wanted to set the record straight on Larry Bird.
Yeah, they had it on NBA TV too. You could actually watch it on NBA TV where they showed their games. Larry Bird, that 86-85 Celtics was one of the greatest defenses of all time. It was one of the absolute greatest defenses of all time. But Gene, I want to come to you first, and I want everybody to get their thoughts or give their opinion on you came up with a list of all-time GOATs in every sport. So I want you to give them out. I want you to give your names out, and everybody can. I want to hear you guys' all-time GOATs on each sport. So go ahead, Gene.
I love this. I just did it yesterday, and I really
I thought it was fun. That's why I brought it up. Yep.
So I'll start with Major League Baseball. I think the greatest player to ever play baseball is Willie Mays. And when I look at Willie Mays, I see a guy that played both sides of the ball. Like he was one of the best defensive center fielders you'll ever watch in a game. He hit over 600 home runs, and he was a great hitter for average. True five-tool player, has one of the most iconic catches in the history of the game. So Willie Mays is the best baseball player ever. Not the best hitter, best baseball player. Now, NHL is the easiest one. There's no one even close. It's the great one, Wayne Gretzky. If you say anyone else, you're just trying to pull strings. It doesn't make any logical sense. For NFL, what is it? The best position that won the most? Tom Brady. Do I think he was the most talented quarterback ever? No, but he was the best. He understood the game. His drive, control, his poise was incredible. Tom Brady is my GOAT for the NFL. For the NBA, it's Michael Jordan, Michael Jeffrey Jordan. What he did for the game of basketball cannot be stated. He took what Larry and Magic did, and he ran with that torch and made it into an iconic game. Like I said, with that Nike contract that he signed, that man's worth billions and billions of dollars just off that 5% royalty. The WNBA, I went with Diana Taurasi.
Yep.
I love Diana Taurasi. I can't believe she's still playing basketball. I mean, Diana Taurasi I was not 21 when she started playing basketball. I'm 37 now.
Yep.
For boxing, it's Muhammad Ali. And yes, I will tell you that the most overrated boxer of all time is Mike Tyson. Don't let him show up on your list. I will shut it down. For UFC, I'm going to go with Anderson, the Spider Silva. I could probably go with John Jones here. And the reason I didn't go with John Jones is because I hate him as a human being. He's got tested positive for PEDs before. He's beat women, cocaine. I'm not a John Jones fan as a human being. I went with the Spider. He had a much cleaner career. For tennis, I went with Roger Federer and Serena Williams. And for golf, I went with Jack Nicklaus. Although I would have loved Tiger to eventually pass him, but he didn't.
Got you. All right, Mo, give me yours. Give me yours and your GOATs in every sport.
For football, the best football player I've ever seen was Walter Payton. So I'm gonna go with Walter Payton. I thought he was the most complete football player I'd ever seen. Just could do everything on the field, other than he wasn't a quarterback. But Walter Payton was just unique with his ability to run the football, catch the football. He even threw touchdown passes. Incredible blocker, good short yardage back. Like there's nothing Walter Payton couldn't do at a high level on the football field. And plus, he added flash when he ran the football. Like he was very unique that way. So for me, it's Walter Payton in football. In basketball, it's Michael Jordan. We can talk about this over and over and over, but for what he did in the amount of time that he played and the impact that he had on the game, not just in our country, but globally and going forward, it's got to be Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan even had street cred. He had street cred before people even realized what was up. I'm just saying, with all the commercials he had with Spike Lee, that gave him street cred. Those were crazy commercials. So I'm going to go with Michael Jordan. I'm not a big hockey guy, but I'm not gonna lie. I watched a lot of Wayne Gretzky. I mean, he's one of those guys that you couldn't turn the TV off. So for me, it's the great one is Wayne Gretzky in hockey. In baseball, I actually saw this guy play. I actually saw him play. So the best baseball player I ever saw was Barry Bonds, and that was Barry Bonds when he was with the Pirates. I didn't get to see him play when he was with San Fran, but Barry Bonds is the best baseball player I've ever seen. A close second would probably be Ricky Henderson, because I saw Ricky Henderson play and saw how special he was. So those are the two guys for me in baseball. Boxing, it's Muhammad Ali. For everything he did in the ring, for everything he did out the ring, Muhammad Ali might just be the greatest athlete, period. I mean, we just said of all athletes, but I'm going to go with Muhammad Ali in boxing. I don't do a lot of UFC. I don't. I know about John Jones, but I think the guy that I've actually seen fight, I saw him fight at his peak, and I saw him lose and come back, and that was Anderson Silva. I saw him. I think he broke his leg in a fight.
Versus Chris Weidman.
Yeah, and he actually came, the fact that he came back from that's impressive. So I'm going to go with him in UFC. As far as tennis goes, it's Serena. Serena's the GOAT to me in tennis, period. Like, I know Federer, if you go men and women, but I'm just going to go Serena's my tennis GOAT, period. And in golf, I didn't do golf a lot, saw a lot of Tiger, but if you're up on the history and you watch the highlights, that dude, the Golden Bear, Jack Nicholson was a beast, man. He was a beast. Like, I know we get caught up in Tiger because it's right now or it was more recent, but Jack Nicholson, that dude was clutch. Like, I'll take Jack Nicholson. I'll take the Golden Bear. A close second to me would be Arnold Palmer. Like, those two were beasts. So that's my goats.
All right.
So real quick,
Go ahead. Get it off.
Just the Jack Nicklaus thing. Jack Nicklaus. He went on a golf course. I think it was a year ago, and it was a pro-am, and they asked, I don't know what I could do. Should I chip this or should I putt it? He's like, you putt it. He's like, I don't know. You can't putt this. He's like, you want me to show you how? And he grabbed the club and hit a 76-foot putt, just grabbing someone's club to show him how to do it. The guy was so good, and I'm not a golf fan. Sorry.
Go ahead, Brett.
Oh man! So for basketball, should I start an argument and say LeBron James? No, I'm kidding. I don't actually believe that the GOAT is Michael Jordan. It's like stirring up trouble a little bit. For baseball, honestly, the greatest I know that I've ever seen is also Barry Bonds. We're talking about a 5-tool player that could literally do everything, and then obviously he took some roids and it kind of. Freddie's saying, say it.
Yeah, y'all gonna make Freddie pop up in here, man.
We're talking about a 5-tool player, talking about a guy even before the roids. He was stealing 40 bases, Gold Glove. He was still matching them out of the park, could hit for contact. It didn't really matter. There wasn't a thing he could do. So he's always been my greatest player of all time. I know that's not popular because of the roids, but that's all right. The NFL, it comes down to everybody says who won the most. I think so. Tom Brady, I always have him as the GOAT. I agree with what Gene said. He's not the most talented quarterback of all time. We've seen more talented than him, but he always found a way to win when it mattered the most. He really always stepped up his game. And then I'm not gonna lie. After that, like WNBA, I know it's to me, the number, it always was kind of between CP3 and Taurasi for me, and I kind of went Taurasi, and after that, I don't really follow many of the other sports, so I'm going to bow out after that one.
Gotcha. It's kind of me. It's kind of me, too. I'm in that same scenario. After boxing, I'm all out up on that one. But go ahead.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
I didn't do WNBA. For me,
Go ahead.
Cynthia Cooper, man. I'm just a big Cynthia Cooper was a monster.
4 straight championships.
Yeah, she was like the Jordan of basketball back then.
Early in stages, she was unstoppable. That team was unstoppable. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Man, you just kind of ruined my WNBA player, actually.
Hey,
Well, so we'll get to it though. The NBA again, unanimous. It's Jordan. I mean, again, Jordan changed. I know we talk about LeBron and how he's changing the game, but Jordan did change the game. The Jordan rules, the Jordan, the market. As I said, the marketing side of everything, what's blown up, it's all because of Michael Jordan. And on top of that, the on-court accomplishments: 6 times, 6-0, 2 3-peats. It's all defensive player, all scoring titles for all first team in the NBA. It's hands down Jordan for the NBA. MLB, I actually went a little bit different direction. I went Babe Ruth. And why I went Babe Ruth is because what we have in today's game with Shohei Ohtani, he's doing things that only one person in Major League Baseball history has done on the pitching and hitting side, and that was Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth was a great pitcher. And again, I know the era is completely different, early 1900s to where we are, but he was a great pitcher in his era. He didn't actually hit all that much for the Boston Red Sox when he played with the Red Sox. He was mostly a pitcher that could hit. Goes to the Yankees, doesn't pitch anymore, and all of a sudden just starts hitting home runs left and right as if it was just a casual thing, and hit 714 home runs in the process. So because what we have in today's generation with Shohei Ohtani doing things only one person in history has done, Babe Ruth would be my top part of MLB greatest of all time. NFL, I know everybody's kind of went to the quarterback side. I went a little different. I went Emmitt Smith. And the duration of his career, and again, someone who hold on. Yeah, changed it up a little bit, but Emmitt Smith, smaller. Again, there was a lot of talk about him not, having to fill the shoes of Herschel Walker in Dallas, and not a lot of people even thought he was going to. And he had a duration of his career that became the NFL's all-time leading rusher. So again, having to replace the legend in Dallas of Herschel Walker with the big trade that got all the draft picks, and now you're having to beat the guy behind Troy Aikman and behind the offensive line, and you have to carry the load of what they did in the 90s. Emmitt Smith would be on that because, again, the duration and being able to set the record of all NFL all-time rushing record. I went with Emmitt Smith on that part of it. And I know we'll debate that one here in a second as well. I have other running backs, but again, because of what he had to do, replacing Herschel is why I went that. NHL, I went with Gretzky. You're the great one. You changed the game in the NHL, and you were able to do what you're doing. Well, scoring and just overall player that he was. And like I said, when your nickname is a great one, there should be no conversation on that side of it. As I said, Cynthia Cooper for the WNBA, she was in the beginning stages of the WNBA the best player. She was the greatest player. And again, you're having a lot of players kind of almost in that direction of trying to mimic and that are idolizing her, mimic her game in today's era. So that's why I looked at it for Cynthia. And that boxing, I went Muhammad Ali, the greatest, again, the greatest of all time. One of the best showmen that you could talk about, one of the best talkers you could have. But the best part of it is when he got in the ring, he backed up his talk every single time he got in there. And my goodness, if we could only imagine what his career would have been if he didn't have the issues out of the ring with the government and during that time frame, how much better his career could have even been. And that's scary to even think about. Soccer, I went with Pele. Pele with soccer. Again, the era he played, he was the best. He was the best on it. And I know there's overall, I know we have Cristiano Ronaldo and we have Leo Messi, but those are more scores. They're great scorers, and at times can be good defenders, but they're more scorers. Pele was the best soccer player, period. So I went with Pele. Tennis, Serena Williams, 100%. Have to agree with that. Serena Williams overall, as far who I would choose. On the men's side, I actually picked Novak Djokovic, and I went because Federer lost a lot of matches on clay to Nadal, won a lot of his matches at Wimbledon, but he struggled on times at clay against Nadal. Nadal beat him quite a bit. So if you have to be able to look at it and say the grand scheme. Are you great on all surfaces, hard court, clay, and grass? Djokovic lately has been throughout his career. He wins at all the majors on all the different surfaces. So I give the edge to Djokovic in that side. Again, Serena just wins in a story. UFC, I'm a little bit lack of knowledge on UFC, so I didn't go on the UFC one. Golf, I chose Tiger. Again, because you changed the game. And Jack was great. I'm not taking anything away. Jack is the greatest with the majors. He won the most. I mean, absolutely phenomenal golfer. But Tiger Woods, again, changed the game of golf to what we see today on all aspects of it. The competitiveness. The people were afraid to even be paired with Tiger. And just you had a lead. If you even had a 3-stroke lead, that was gone because Tiger Woods' presence alone that you were paired off with was just a game changer on top of the skill set that he was able to do on the course. So I went with Tiger Woods as the greatest of all time in golf.
Spot on list outside of one. I don't know. Listen, Jonathan, that was a spot on list. It was a great list. I understand every one of your answers except one. You named a running back that's not even a top 3 running back of all time, and you listed him as the NFL GOAT. I'm going to give you, listen, Jonathan, because your list was so good, I'm going to give you a mulligan, right? Like I'm going to let you re-answer that question. He's not better than Barry, Walter, or Jim Brown at the position. And you think he's the GOAT in NFL history because he replaced Herschel Walker? Come on.
I love Barry. I was a very, very big Barry Sanders fan. The duration of the career at a position that it's, even then, you were still getting beat up all the time. And again, talent-wise, you're 100%. Talent-wise, Emmett was not the most talented, but wouldn't that mean the most because he was not the most talented and he had the career that he had? And
Jonathan, you could have ran behind that line. That offensive line was the greatest offensive line ever to step foot on a football field. And I'm not trying to discredit Emmitt Smith. I'm not. But if you go watch a 90s Cowboys game, those holes, a bus could have got through that damn line. Emmitt Smith is possibly the most overrated running back of all time, and you have him as the NFL GOAT. Let me give you some examples. Jerry Rice, Tom Brady, Walter Payton. You prime time, greatest cornerback ever. No debate there, right?
Yeah.
You could go if you want to go defensive side of the ball, go Lawrence Taylor. But don't you in a million years give me Emmitt Smith as the NFL GOAT. I can't do it. I give you your mulligan, sir. You can re-answer.
I mean, like I said, you named better running backs. You did name better running backs. And again, I agree. Emmitt Smith is not the most talented running back, but again, because he wasn't the most talented in the career he had, again, the longevity and being able to set the record is where the direction I went with it on that. If you want me to give him the mulligan, look, I think it's the variable description of the answer that you go. As far as for the sport, again, it's the same thing in the sport. Well, what do you value? I guess what you say, because a lot of y'all valued winning. That's why y'all went with Tom Brady. But Tom Brady, again, if you want to look at the physical aspect of it, what he was, physical aspect, he was an above average quarterback. What made him special was all the other variables that took place for him to win and be the great quarterback that he is. So that's why I looked at him with an aspect of is that the fact of the matter is, was Emmitt Smith the best running back? No, he wasn't. I'm not saying Emmitt Smith was the best running back talent-wise, for what he achieved. With again, discredit, because he replaced Herschel Walker, but that we talk about that all the time. We talk about, hey, this guy had to replace this legend. This guy had to replace this, and the pressure and the that went on. You were part of the trade. You were a pick in the draft picks that traded Herschel Walker away. And I get the offensive line was the best offensive line. You could probably argue the best offensive line of all time in NFL history. Not again, agree with you on that. But the sheer fact of again, he was undersized running back, particularly at the time. Was not even viewed as a guy who was going to have a long career, let alone even be in the NFL very, very long. I mean, there was a lot of talk. If you go back to the scouting reports about Emmitt Smith, they were like, yeah, he may have a 4 or 5 year career, but he's not going to be anything special. Dallas kind of reached. It wasn't a really great pick. And then we look at him, he's now the NFL all-time rushing leader. I guess, and that line didn't last. They had about a 4 or 5 year part of his career. He played for a very long time. So after that line went gone, he still put up the numbers. He was still able to be great in that side. So against the offensive line side, okay, yeah, I'll give you about the 4 or 5 year start of the 4 or 5 years of the career. But post that, after that, he still put up numbers with a line that started getting shakier and shakier as they went on because guys got older and the guys they replaced weren't as great at that point. So
He had 4,400 carries. He's only had 5 elite seasons in the NFL. You talk about Emmitt Smith, right? And I'm going to tell you right now, the last 7 years of his career, he was pedestrian at best. Like, why? Because he had 4,500 carries? Yeah, of course he's going to accumulate more yards. So when you're talking, listen, I listen to you. I'm going to give you stats, right? And you tell me whether these are above average NFL seasons or not. And I'm going to start with some easy ones for you. 1,563 yards. Would we say that's above average?
Absolutely.
1,713.
Absolutely.
1,486.
Absolutely.
1,484.
Absolutely.
1,773.
Absolutely.
Okay. 1,204.
I would still say it's above average, yes. You rushed for 1,200 yards.
1,074.
We're getting a little bit more towards, again, if you're rushing for 1,000 yards, we still look at 1,000 yards rushing today as a huge accomplishment. Now, the game's changed today. It's more pass heavy today. So if you want to sit there and say the argument was
ran more.
A lot more. But
that's my point. They ran the ball more than I did.
But even then, defenses were still damn good, though. It was a whole different ballgame as far as how they hit and how they played and how they were able to do things defensively. So 1,000 yards is still 1,000 yards, no matter what era you play. And if you rush, we still celebrate. So in today's game of receivers, do we not still celebrate 1,000-yard receivers, even though they're passing the ball 50 times a game? Do we not still sit there and say, man, he had 1,000 yards receiving?
Well, that depends. Where's Mike Evans right now on your top 10 wide receivers list?
He's in the top 10.
I mean,
he's not high. He's not high on my top 10 list in today's game, but he is a top 10 receiver.
And when you look at Emmitt Smith, what he did, I'll tell you right now, he only had 3 seasons in his entire career where he rushed for over 4.5 yards per carry. The guy was an absolute animal of longevity, of durability. He did not run backwards. He did not do what Barry did. He didn't have the flashy runs that Barry did. He would run the ball up the middle and get you 3-4 yards. Emmitt Smith could literally be the definition of 3 yards in a cloud of dust offense. But I don't mean to be disrespectful. I feel like
you're not disrespectful.
Cowboys to the carpet, and I don't want to do that.
I'm not even a Cowboy fan, so you're not. That's why I love this. This is debating. You're not being disrespectful. Don't even think you're being disrespectful.
But when I look at Emmitt Smith as a whole, I'm not kidding with you. He doesn't crack my top 5 running backs. And I just can't look at him as a GOAT.
We're not talking about career, though. Again, the overall career. Again, I know the stats of what you're saying. At the same day, he still had to perform. He still rushed 1,000 yards. He was 1,000 yard, 15, 17, 12, 14, 12, 15. He still put up numbers. He still had the career. He had the duration, and he has the record. So I look at it in that aspect of it. It was as I said, he was not the most talented running. If you ask me, most talented running backs, no, I 100% agree. He is not on the list. 100%.
So you stand by he's the greatest of all time in football
because of the career. Absolutely, the career, the numbers he put up. Even though 3 yards in a cloud of dust, sure. He still put up the numbers, though. He still has the duration of his career. He still put up the all-time NFL rushing record. Again, variables aside, he still did it. He broke the records that are there.
Okay.
All right, so Gene, you got someone that got Mike Tyson on their boxing list. You got someone, Cool McKay, you got someone that got Mike Tyson on there. They got Mike Tyson.
Does he? Oh, no.
You got Mike Tyson on there.
Cool, I love you, man. I really do. And let me look at the rest of his list real quick. Jordan, Griffey Jr., Cheryl Swoops, Reggie White, Tiger, Serena, Joker, Mario Lemieux over Wayne Gretzky. That's wild. John Jones, Mia Hamm. Okay. You get the Mike Tyson, right? You get the Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson in his career has beaten no one. Every time he came across a big fight in his career, he lost. He beat a 48-year-old Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes was flabby, falling off the ring, shouldn't have been in the damn ring. Larry Holmes and Michael Spinks. You can't be the greatest of all time when they're your 2 biggest wins in your career. I don't care how many times he knocked out Andrew Galata. I don't care. Andrew Galata stunk. I don't care how devastating he knocked out the truck driver they threw in the ring with him. Mike Tyson, he's not a top 50 boxer of all time. Cannot be your GOAT. He cannot be your GOAT. I'm sorry, your opinion is wrong.
Oh, Mike Tyson is not a top 50. He's a top. He's he's probably not that type of a boxer to you. But Razor Ruddock wasn't a bad boxer, and he beat Razor Ruddock twice. That was a heavyweight that everybody said that was going to be a great heavyweight. He did beat David Tua, who was actually solid. He did. I mean, Larry Holmes. Yes, he beat Larry Holmes, but Larry Holmes was coming off a big time win. He was coming off a big time win. David Galata retired Riddick Bowe, literally retired Riddick Bowe and beat the dog shit out of Riddick Bowe. So I'm gonna give him credit on that one. Yes, against Lewis, we all can think Mike Tyson was done at that time. He was done when he fought Lennox Lewis. Holyfield gets full credit for that, but he has beaten some good boxers. He has beaten some boxers now. He has beaten some boxers. Michael Spinks was undefeated. Spinks was undefeated when he fought him.
I gave him credit for Michael Spinks. I said it was the best win of his career.
I don't think
is Michael Spinks on your top 10 heavyweights list?
No, he's not, but that's a good win. I'm not going to give him
100%. Listen, in order to be a top 50 boxer of all time, you have to have some wins, right? Like, in order to be a top 50 boxer of all time, you got to be able to beat somebody. I'm not saying, when you look at Mike Tyson, right? Is he ever beaten anyone that's on your top 10 heavyweights?
No, he hasn't.
So then how could he be the greatest boxer of all time?
But I'm not going to fault him for who he fought. He fought some good boxers up in there.
He fought Lennox Lewis and got his shit kicked in.
Yes, he was on
Holyfield and got beat up.
He was not Mike Tyson at that time, though.
What about Evander Holyfield? He was Mike Tyson then.
I gave Evander Holyfield credit for that. He was good. Frank Bruno wasn't even a bad boxer. He beat him twice. Frank Bruno was a guy that was actually nice. That was actually good.
He also lost to James Buster Douglas because he did.
That was the worst. That was his worst loss of his career. I give you that one. That was his worst loss.
I mean, the Evander Holyfield loss. He was a minus 1,500 favorite in the fight. One of the biggest fights, one of the biggest favorites in boxing history for a title fight. Outside of the Buster Douglas fight, he lost the Evander Holyfield fight. He was a minus 1,500 favorite. He lost both times. And
yes, he lost both times. He didn't lose. He got dominated by Holyfield. He didn't lose. He got dominated by Holyfield. I give you that one. But like I say, he has fought some solid fighters. I ain't gonna make it seem like he just fought bombs at that time. But hey, you can make an argument for it. You can make an argument.
Not for the GOAT. No, you can't.
No, not for the GOAT. I ain't saying for the GOAT. Okay. I ain't saying for the GOAT. You can make an argument if he's overrated or not. I'm not gonna argue with you on that one. You can make an argument. I'm gonna get mad.
I think he came along at the right time because boxing was boring. It was dead. Yes. So I'll give him credit because he made boxing watchable, especially heavyweight boxing. There was no reason to watch heavyweight boxing at that time other than to see if Mike Tyson was going to knock somebody out in the first or second round.
You're right. Yeah. But so people used to also complain about buying the pay-per-view to watch him knock somebody out in 14 seconds. That was one of the biggest complaints for boxing.
That's why I went to a friend's house for the pay-per-view.
That's the way to do it. Look, Mike Tyson, it's nothing against Mike, but he just got a lot of extra hype because he knocked out people devastating. All right, so you mentioned Razor Ruddock, and I don't think Razor Ruddock's a bad boxer at all. And a lot of people mention the fact that when he TKO'd Razor Ruddock the first time they fought, don't realize they fought a second time.
Yeah, they did.
It was a lot closer than people want to give.
Yeah, it was a close fight. It was a close fight. Razor Ruddock did give him hell. Razor Ruddock gave him hell. He gave him hell. Well, you can argue the fight shouldn't have been stopped because Razor Ruddock recovered well after he hit him with that big punch.
But he was down 6-0 on that. He was down 6-0 on that score when he got knocked out. You're right, but he was getting beat. I don't think the fight was close. I don't even think Razor Ruddock could have came back and won that fight unless Tyson completely gassed.
Yep.
You're right.
Come on, y'all true. He did beat it. He did beat somebody. Razor Ruddock was supposed to be the best heavyweight at that time. He was supposed to be best heavyweight. After he got beat by Tyson, then Razor Ruddock fell apart. He got knocked down. He got put to sleep by Lennox Lewis right after that fight.
I'll make a bold statement. I think Vladimir Klitschko or Vitaly Klitschko have a better case to being a heavyweight GOAT than
I agree with you. They was some good. And which one of those Klitschko brothers that was fit to beat Lennox Lewis until his eye till they stopped the fight.
Oh, you're talking about Vitaly Klitschko.
Yeah, he was actually going to beat. He was actually winning that fight before they stopped the fight before that eye. But we got some more topics like Ja Morant. We talking about Ja Morant, and I didn't make this. I didn't make the topics. Freddie made the topic. So we gonna blame Freddie on that one. But Mo, I'm gonna start with you. What advice would you give to Ja Morant? What advice would you give to him?
Listen to your vets. Just come in, be a professional, focus on your craft. Like, you know what I mean? Like, keep a low profile. Hit that locker room, hit the training room, get your work in, get in the lab, work on that jump shot. Do everything you can to improve your skill set and focus on basketball and basketball only. Become a basketball monster on and off the court. And you can't tell anybody how to lead their life, but my advice would be you got to cut some friends loose. You're gonna have to cut some people loose, because if you keep running in the same circles, you're gonna have the same problems. Listen to your vets. They just got Marcus Smart. That's a great pickup. So I think that listening to a vet, focusing on his craft, those are going to help Ja Morant going forward in his career.
I wasn't mad at the topic, Coach, when you brought it up.
No. I just like your reaction.
I'm mad at this situation. I'm mad at what such a special talent, such a guy that's so enjoyable to watch play basketball. One of my favorite players in the NBA play basketball. To be in this type of situation over and over and over again. It's not about, look, guys, this is one of those glim topics that I don't want to talk about because I'm watching a kid just destroy his life. And like he has all the talent in the world. I would tell him to retire from basketball and see how that street life treats you for the next 2 years. Because, and I'm not saying to do that, but in reality, if you look at what he's headed towards, if he gets thrown out of the NBA and he gets suspended for a year or 2 years, and that income stops coming in and those endorsements stop coming in, this man's wasting an incredible talent. It's like watching someone that has all the talent in the world just throw it away. It's frustrating to see. It's frustrating to watch. And the best advice I can give him is get away from everybody. Just live on the court. I wish he had a mentor. I wish he had a person that he could look up to. Like Victor Wembanyama is walking into San Antonio. And look, you can say what you want about the Spurs, but they have a council of like David Robinson, Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, like taking him out to dinner, sitting him down. Like, this is how to be an NBA professional. I just look at Memphis and I say, what do you get Zebo back there? You know, Marc Gasol, just have him come over. Like, what do you like? What? And man, shame on Memphis as a whole for really lacking a true veteran leader on the team full of those youngsters. But and I don't think he can be a boring superstar, Kyle. I don't think he can. He's too electric. He makes plays that are too insane. Sorry, I just hate watching it.
Yeah, you good. Go ahead, Brett.
I think in this Ja Morant situation, you see why like a team like Miami keeps Udonis Haslem at the end of the bench for 10 years, even though he doesn't play anymore. Yeah. Like Ja, like you guys said already, he's got to listen to his vets. He's got to find some good influences, just focus on the game. Like, you just got to understand, like, he's made it. He's in the league making generational wealth, could have whatever life he wants, make the best life for his family and future generations going forward. And to watch him sit there and throw that all away potentially, it's just unfortunate. So just got to focus on his game, get rid of all the bad influences, and hopefully he can get his head on straight and we can see another 10, 15, or 10, 12 years of Ja just balling out.
All right, Jonathan?
I look at it in the aspect of a player, and I had a teammate in minor league baseball that, not a similar situation, but was doing things off the field that really affected him and really affected the team. And that's how I look at it and say, is like, it was just pointed out, who's the veteran leader of the team that, again, Ja is the leader of the team, but who's the veteran leader presence that has the voice? And there's really not anybody, but that's what you need, because what you need to do is you need to sit him down, have a team intervention, and basically just be God honest to him. You cost us the opportunity to have a deep playoff run this past season. You cost us with stupidity, not just being stupid, but lying to the commissioner and lying to the fans and lying to us, because you said it was a poor judgment what I did with on Instagram in the car and whatnot. And then you had other instances off the court that you lied to us. And then you do it again. You lied again because we knew what you were doing. At some point, because as y'all just said, it's going to bite you where you're gone from us.
Yeah.
You cost us each opportunity to have a deep playoff run. We were one of the best teams in the NBA. And when you did what you did and you were sent away from the team, we were not the same team. We were a different group. We need our superstar. That's you, Ja. We need our superstar to be able to hang with the Nuggets, be able to hang with the Suns, being able to hang in the West to be a top team in here. You cost us with your stupid judgment and your immaturity. At some point, you need to grow up. The team needs to have the intervention with him. He does need to readjust his friends and be able to have a better surrounding. And that's one thing I will say about this. I will credit LeBron James, who had the hype, who had the fanfare and everything. And the one thing that I will absolutely 100% credit LeBron James for is there's not been one instance in his life as the top player in the NBA where you could sit there and say it's lack of judgment in it. Ja right now, immaturity at its finest. And he needs to be able to be held accountable, not just by the NBA and not even just by the front office of the team, but his teammates need to sit him down in one of the rooms and say, you need to grow up. Otherwise, not only are you going to cost us again, you're going to cost your career. And guess what? Nobody wins when that happens.
So I just wanted to give a comparison to Ja Morant to a player that we've watched in the past. And I know it's not the same thing, right? I know it's not guns. But if you guys, a lot of people don't remember what Chris Carter was for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Buddy Ryan, if you ask Chris Carter credits Buddy Ryan with saving his life. He failed a drug test at Ohio State, and he was suspended for his last season. He was drafted by the Eagles. He failed 2 drug tests. And before he was suspended for a year, Buddy Ryan cut him so the second drug test didn't get out. Sent him to rehab. He went to Minnesota Vikings and revitalized his career. I'm not saying that Memphis needs to cut Ja Morant, but there's been players that have turned around troubled past before. And Chris Carter is a perfect example. And I just wanted to kind of bring that up and give a comparison, like an alt comparison between sports.
Yeah, because Chris Carter he talked about what Buddy Ryan did, and then being around Dennis Green, and Dennis Green was a phenomenal human being, and being around the presence of Dennis Green and kind of in guiding. So the reality check from Buddy Ryan, the reality check to the presence of the human being in Dennis Green was what Chris Carter absolutely 100%. He credited both those men for not only just saving his life, but revitalizing and putting in the right direction his life. Ja needs the same thing. Ja needs that as well.
Got you. So got an interesting one right here, Jonathan. I'm gonna start at the bottom with you. Which team are you coming out with? Are you gonna take? Team 1, Chris Paul, Kobe Bryant, Kevin Durant, Kevin Garnett, or Kareem. We got Team 2, John Stockton, Allen Iverson, LeBron James, Tim Duncan, Shaquille O'Neal. Team 3, you got Magic Johnson, Jordan, Giannis, Dirk, and Nikola Jokic. Or Team 4, you got Steph, Dwayne Wade, you got Larry Bird, Karl Malone, and Akeem Olajuwon. Which team are you taking? Are you going with?
Oof. Very balanced. I like that. That's always been my view on teams. Is if you have a balance, do you have some defenders? Do you have some scorers? Do you have a shooter? that Jokic team sounds really. You have Jokic and Dirk. So again, I think the presence of rebounding with Jokic. Do you have the score, the outside presence with Dirk? Who else was on that team? With it was Dirk, Jokic.
You have Magic Johnson and Jordan and Giannis on the team.
So you have the good ball handler in Magic, who's got size in himself. You have the scorer and defender also in Jordan. The length with Giannis, the 7-foot shooter, and another 7-foot rebounder on there. That's a long team. That's a good defending team that can score. Every one of those guys can score on that team. I know the only defensive liability really would be Dirk. Dirk's not going to. But with that group, with Giannis being able to
Magic.
Magic still was a good defender, though. He was was he elite? No, he wasn't elite. But you have a good defender. I could put Jordan on one of the on whoever the score is on that group. I have the length at Giannis at small forward to be able to play. I have a good center and Jokic down low. Cover all the basis of what you have with that group, being 6'9", 6'6", 6'11", 7 foot, 7'1". My starting five, I'll take that group all day.
All right. Brett, what group are you taking?
No, I'll keep it honest, and maybe I'm a little biased because Giannis is on the team, but I was going to take Team 3 also. The scoring is absolutely wild between you got MJ and Dirk, both elite scorers, not to mention everybody on that team can score, but with Jokic and Magic playmaking too. To me, they got the best playmakers. They got the best scorers. You have Jordan and Giannis on defense. Magic, as long as he's not matched up with a quicker guard, he should be able to hold up. Dirk might be an issue, but when you have Giannis as a very good help side defender, can help out with that. I think that team just complements each other very well and just checks all the boxes. So I'd take Team 3.
Can you read them again? I'm sorry.
All right. So you got Team 1, you got Chris Paul, Kobe Bryant, Kevin Durant, you got Kevin Garnett, and you got Kareem. Team 2, you have John Stockton, Allen Iverson, LeBron James, Tim Duncan, Shaquille O'Neal. Team 3, you have Irvin Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Giannis, Dirk, and Jokic. And Team 4, the last team, you have Steph, Dwayne Wade, Larry Bird, Karl Malone, and Elijah Wan.
I'm going to get some crap for this one, and that's okay. Team 3 can't shoot. They can't shoot. The greatest players are on Team 3. I get it. Giannis can't shoot. Michael wasn't a great three-point shooter. Magic wasn't a great three-point shooter. Dirk could shoot and Joker could shoot, but you have to move your bigs outside. They're also the slowest team on that list. And look, there's a lot of greatness on that team, right? Team 1 wins this. Team 1 is the most balanced team that can move the basketball. You have a floor general in Chris Paul. You got the Mamba and Kobe Bryant. You got Kevin Durant that can floor space. You got Kevin Garnett. They're all plus defenders. Every one of them are all NBA defenders. And you have Kareem in the middle. Team 1 wins this. And it's not about who's the better players. It's about how the team is constructed. When you look at all those teams and break them down, there's only one team that's constructed correct. The team of Stockton and Iverson would never mesh. That'd be awful. Nothing. I get it. You got, I think it's LeBron, Duncan, and Shaq as the other 3 guys. But those 2 guards couldn't match up. Which one of those 2 guards is sticking Kobe Bean? KD. It just can't happen, right? One of them can stick Chris Paul, but none of them are going to be able to. The floor spacing in today's NBA and the way basketball is played now with today's rules, Team 1 wins. And I don't know if they go to 7 in any of those series.
All right, go ahead, Mo.
I was going to go with Team 1 because of roster construction for the same reason. It's the most balanced team. When we were talking about Team 1, I was listening and I was like, they're really big. But the first thing that came to mind was their 2 bigs are the best shooters. They're the best shooters. It's a kind of a weirdly built team. And then you're talking about the pace of the game. They're the slowest, probably least athletic team overall on the list. I would go with Team 1 because it's just the most balanced team.
Got you. Team 1 is a hell of a team. Don't forget, you do got Kobe on the team, who's a hell of a defender. Kevin Garnett. You can argue. He's better than Dirk Nowitzki. I think he has a better overall game than Dirk Nowitzki. Kareem is pretty. That's a pretty good, well balanced team. So, good job right there on that one. And we got some start, bench, or cuts. But we got. I want y'all top 5 MLB players of all time.
I really want to argue that. Anybody want to argue with me? Anyone want to argue with Team 3?
Yeah, I'll be
go ahead. Y'all want to go ahead?
Chop it up.
So
chop it up. Let's go ahead.
No shoot. So Dirk's not. I know you said Dirk's a shooter.
No, what I said was their big men are shooters. They're guards. They're 2 guards and their small forward aren't great shooters.
Jordan
is not a great shooter.
He didn't shoot threes. No, but he can shoot threes. He can. He was a 30% 3-point shooter in his career. Again, in a different era. Don't look into the present and what we see in today's 3-point shooters now. Don't look at you're living in the moment of the 3-point shooters and what we see today. At the time, he was still a really good 3-point shooter back in his career.
You just praised him for being a 30% 3-point shooter.
Different era. We're living in a different era. The reality of today is you cannot live in the 90s, in the 80s and 90s. 3-point shooting was not prevalent in what it was when and what it is today. So if you look at it in the grand scheme, 30%, that's what we're scoffing at, 30% 3-point shooting, because we see guys shooting 23 pointers a game and making 8 of them. Yeah, of course, the 3-point shooters are going to be skewing more so today than anything else. But 30% is still a good number of 3-point because of the percentage that you have. That's not taking away. He was a good shooter. He was a jump shooter. That he just didn't in an era that did not shoot threes.
To me, that you would really not be able to space the court with that team. Like, you could literally just pack the box when you're playing that team. And if you have Dirk and you have – follow me real quick. If you have Dirk and you have Joker as your rim protectors on that team, I don't think you have rim protection. So what you have is Giannis as your only rim protector on the team. And Giannis can't shoot his way out of a wet paper bag. So with that team, essentially what you're running is you're trying to run Joker and Dirk on the wings to be spot up. You're making Dirk into Chris Bosh. That's not what he should be. You don't want to have to move your 4 and 5 outside of the paint to have your rim protector be Giannis. With team 1, the way it's set up is, forget Chris Paul for a minute. He's small. I understand that. You have Kobe, who's 6'6". You have Durant, who's got a 7-foot wingspan. You have Kareem, who's one of the best centers in NBA history, and you have rim protection. You have Kevin Burnett, who's one of the best defending power forwards. They're all athletic. They all can run the court. They all can outlet. That team as a whole can all space the court. You leave Chris Paul open, he shoots better threes than Michael Jordan. You leave Kobe Bryant, he shoots better threes than Michael Jordan. Kevin Durant, well, stop. That's a joke, right?
So I think Jordan and Kobe, which is the matchup we'll always want to see. And we will always remember we want to see Jordan and Kobe. All right, and that's a coin flip. Always will be I think that, and that's my opinion on it. This is because again, Kobe mimicked his game after Jordan, and that's a coin flip. It's a toss up. It's going to be Jordan and Kobe versus Jordan.
Fair.
Durant. I actually would look at it and say how I would do it if I'm coaching this team. I would actually put Giannis on KG. I would put Giannis on KG on that one.
That means you have Dirk on Durant.
No, I would put Magic. I'd put Magic. Chris Paul. The hard part will be, what do I do with Chris Paul in aspect? I agree on that side of it. The hard part will be, how do I guard Chris Paul with this team? I 100% agree. That's the different side of that. That is. But as far as if I wanted to match up, if I wanted to look at the matchup.
But who's going to stick him? Based off what you said, who's sticking him?
At times it's going to have to be Magic. But again, I'm not. At times it's going to have to be Magic on that. But at the same time, though, am I worried about Chris Paul going to score with that group?
No. Chris Paul's going to cook.
The length of that team is going to help me, though. The length of that team is going to help. That's how I look at it.
But see, team 1 can match them in length. And that's the point. If Durant as a whole went against Giannis before in the playoffs, Giannis shouldn't be sticking Kevin Durant. They're 2 different players. But Durant cooked him. Do you remember that Brooklyn-Milwaukee series where if he didn't have his toe on the line, Brooklyn would have beat Milwaukee with no Kyrie, hobbled Kyrie and no James Harden? Like, do you remember that series? Kevin Durant absolutely cooked in that series. You take all those guys in that prime, that team can floor space, they can get to the hole, they can outlet, and they can run.
But we're not the group. The group is not just inside scorers. I mean, you're talking about like how you have jump shooters in Jordan. You have a jump shooter. Again, Dirk was money from 15, 18, and to the three-pointer. Jokic is money from 15, 18, and can shoot threes as well, and can still move around pretty decently around the basket as well.
Who's more athletic, Kevin Durant or Dirk?
Kevin Durant or Dirk?
I'm sorry, Kevin Garnett or Dirk?
I mean, I'm not naive.
Prime KG was sticking Dirk. Dirk would score 1.3 points per game. I'm being sarcastic, but like prime KG sticking Dirk Nowitzki. Go look up their stats when they played against each other. They have throughout their career. Kevin Garnett absolutely embarrasses Dirk when they play. Embarrasses him. It's well known because KG had the athleticism to move out to the wing to stick him, and he could drive by him like he's not standing there. Not to mention, nobody can protect the rim on that team except Giannis.
Mm-hmm. The only concern, at least in my eyes of it, this is just my the only concern is who do I have guarding CP3? Because again, you're right, 100% right. There is not a lot of speed. There's not a lot of lateral movement on that. CP3 will move around and create a lot more space on that. That'd be my only concern that I would have with the group. But the overall length, again, making good arguments on it, but the overall length I have with this team, that all can shoot. They can score from 15 to 18 feet. They can shoot threes. And again, you scoff at 30% that Jordan shot in an era where nobody really shot threes still. I think it's an underrated group that you talk about roster construction. In my eyes, there's a lot that can be worked with this team lengthwise, defensively wise, and they can score. They can score as well. The only problem I have with Team 3 versus Team 1, again, would be CP3 more so than anybody else.
I think Chris Paul would end up being if this was a finals matchup, Chris Paul would probably end up being the finals MVP.
All right, so you said look, KG versus Dirk. All right, so I got some statistics right here. Gotcha. So when winning games won, KG 17, Dirk 23.
Better team than Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota was bad. Minnesota was really bad at those times. But you said KG versus Dirk, not the team. You said the individual matchup. So regular season, KG 17, Dirk is 20 regular season. Playoffs, KG played playoffs. They never matched up in the playoffs. They never got matched up. But I just went by the regular season on that. Okay, points average between the two. When they went against actually each other, you had Kevin Garnett, 22, Dirk, 23. Of course, Kevin Garnett got him in rebounds because he's a better overall defender at that point. Then you got game highs against each other. Kevin Garnett, 35, 22, 10 assists. You had Dirk, 39 points, 19 rebounds, and 6 assists. So those are the head-to-head matchups. It ain't really a difference. It ain't really a dominant person. Both of them had each other's number right there. So that's head-to-head versus each other.
Yeah, but when Dirk played for Minnesota, when KG played for Minnesota, Dirk played center for Dallas. They weren't matched up versus each other. So if you look at their stats, their next level stats when KG was guarding Dirk, it's not just what happens during the game. Like obviously during the game, if KG and Dirk are guarding two different positions, but if you look at their stats when they're actually guarding each other, this
is what they actually playing going up against each other.
They're playing each other, man.
Head matchups. You didn't say going up against each other. You didn't say going up against. You just say when they played each other head to head. You didn't say when they won it because nobody's going to be guarding no one for a full game.
Correct, but you can look up those stats when they stick each other. Well, I got you.
Go ahead.
You guys can keep talking. I'm pulling it up right now.
Right, go ahead, Jonathan.
I mean, yeah, as you said, look, Dirk put up numbers. Dirk did put up numbers, and again, if you want to nit, if you want to nitpick a point to where it only has to be what he's guarding. Well, yeah, he played 5. Dirk played a 5 in Dallas. KG was the 4, but that doesn't. I mean, they still matched up though. They were still. I mean, again, you put your matchups based off of what you're doing, what your team is. KG, I love. I mean, again, we want to look up the numbers as far as what KG did or what Dirk did guarded by KG. Okay, we can kind of dig deep a little bit more. But again, they did that. That was a lot. I guarantee a lot of those games and a lot of those numbers that was scored. That was with KG on him. Again. Take nothing away. The big ticket was a phenomenal defender, but Dirk was a phenomenal scorer in the process of his career as well.
I think that matchup too comes down to how comfortable, like Gene was saying, how comfortable are you as Kevin Durant and Kobe as a rim protector? Because you're not going to leave Dirk or Jokic open, so they're going to be spotting up somewhere. They're going to be playing way away from the basket, so that's going to nullify Kareem and Garnett. So I guess the real question is, how comfortable are you as Kobe and Kevin Durant as help that side defenders? Because you know they're going to attack Chris Paul, who's a good defender, but is just giving up way too much size.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that would be the interesting hypothetical on. Like, so that to me, that's what it comes down to. And I think that's really what makes the matchup tough.
And what one actually I saw a comment. I'll just play zone. I'll just play. You say I'll play zone defense. I'll play. I'll move around up 2-3. 2-1-2. I'll move around a little bit and see just how great of shooters you guys are. Absolutely, I'm not afraid of it.
Dirk Nowitzki shot 46.4% from the field as his career. He shot 29% when guarded by Kevin Durant. He shot 39% from 3 for his career. He shot 22% when the primary defender was Kevin Garnett. He averaged 22.9 points per game, and if in the per 36 numbers, he would have averaged 24. Now keep in mind that's the per 36 numbers, which you can take those numbers down. His shooting percentage was down. His rebounds per game was down in games played against Kevin Garnett, and his overall percentages from 3-point field goal percentage and points scored were all down when Kevin Garnett was the primary defender of him. So, yes, I understand that the statistics of how many points he scored in the game when he plays the 5 and KG plays the 4 when they're playing each other, Minnesota versus Dallas, and Dirk Nowitzki's point guard was Steve Nash. Yeah, it's a little different. It's a little bit different of a game. But when he's the primary defender on him, Dirk's numbers are significantly worse. He shot 17% less than from the floor. That's not like a little bit. That's not like, hey, if I shot 45% and 41% when Kevin Durant was sticking him, I get your guys' overall point. I just don't see, and even if you do play zone with the 2-1-2 that Cool's looking at, who are your wing defenders in that 2-1-2? He said Giannis in the middle, so that means you have Dirk and Joker as your wing defenders in the 2-1-2? I can't do that. I can't do that.
I wouldn't put.
I'll put Giannis more at the basket. I'll put more Giannis guarding the paint because I think more than probably you can put Jokic. You can probably put Jokic in the paint, but don't put him outside. Don't put him on the paint.
Yeah, I would have Jokic more in the middle. I would, and I would have Giannis.
His size and his height is good enough to contest shots. So I put Giannis more on the outside than Jokic.
I mean, even doing there's different variations of 2-3. I can go 2-3 and have Giannis, Jokic, Dirk on the bottom with Magic and Jordan up top. I could do a box and 1 defense. There's different variations I could try to change things up with that group because again the length was there. The length is with that team. Jordan being the smallest at 6'6". I can play zone and say, let's see if you can shoot over us in that aspect of.
Got you. So we got top 5 baseball players of all time. So I'm gonna start with you on this one, Gene. Give me your top 5 baseball players of all time.
Willie Mays is the greatest. He's my one. My second would be the best hitter ever to play the game. That'd be Ted Williams. My third would be Babe Ruth. I would have. So let me just be clear. If I could use steroid Barry Bonds, he'd be the greatest baseball player of all time. But I'm not using him. Ken Griffey would be my fourth. I looked at this list as a whole, and I'm trying to give you players that do it on both sides. And then Shohei Ohtani is my fifth. And I don't care how young he's been in the league. There's never been a player to ever do what he's doing. And by the end of his career, I think Shohei Ohtani could be the greatest baseball player we ever watch.
Go ahead, Jonathan.
I said when we did it earlier, I said Babe Ruth was my number one because, again, the things that he's doing, the things that he did, to mention Shohei. Shohei's the only person. Shohei is doing things that only Babe Ruth has done so far. So Babe Ruth is my number one. I'm going to try to. I try to mix in. Every time I get asked this question, I try to mix in a couple pitchers here and there, just because, again, the greatness of certain pitchers that are out there. Number two, I have Cy Young. I have Cy. You have an award named after you for the best pitcher. And for the numbers that he put in, I mean, so Cy Young has to be for what he's achieved. Again, I know the era and what it was back then, but again, when you have an award named after you, you're the best pitcher in the league. You have to be considered that. Ted Williams, number three. Ted Williams, probably one of the best pure hitters of the game. Hitting for high average, Triple Crown winner. 500 over 500 home runs, a phenomenal. Again. Imagine what his career would have been a little bit more of if, with how things went, and, off of it. I mean, Ted Williams absolutely should be and will be considered one of the greatest players of all time. I do have Willie Mays. Willie Mays was another phenomenal 600 home runs, defensively, the arm, everything with that. You could talk about speed. I mean, just phenomenal athlete all around in the era where, again, athleticism wasn't at its peak like we see today. And for the things that he did with a bat, and again, the stories I've heard when I got to play, and just got, some of the coaches that played with Willie, I mean, it was just it's mesmerizing to hear. So Willie Mays, number four. And I went a little bit biased with my personal feelings. I loved the guy watching when I was growing up, Ken Griffey Jr. The same thing. Ken Griffey Jr. was basically the era that I grew up in. This era's Willie Mays. The speed, the athleticism, the power, the contact hitting, the arm, the defense. It was just phenomenal to watch. He, and again, talking about changing the game. He changed the game of our generation in the 90s and 2000s to have a little bit of. It's okay in a sport to have a little swag. It's okay to be a little bit more about your height and carry yourself to a level that nobody would see. He changed the facet of how we look at baseball players. So Ken Griffey Jr. would be my number five right there, and I probably some honorable mentions, but we'll save that for another time.
All right, Brett.
Yeah, so I thought about this one, and my number one is I've always had, like I said, my number one is Barry Bonds. He is the greatest player I've seen, and I just think, honestly, I just think he's the greatest hitter of all time. Like I said, he can steal bases. He can play defense, Gold Gloves, 40 steal seasons. I just don't think there wasn't anything that guy couldn't do on the field. Now, if you want to take him off the list and because of steroids, then I'd probably go Babe Ruth at number one. But I'm going to include Bonds in this one, and my number one is Barry Bonds, which puts my number two at Babe Ruth. My number three, love this guy. I always loved reading about him growing up, Ted Williams. Number four, definitely, I think I got to add in Willie Mays. And number five, this is a good one, but I think I also have to go because, once again, unfortunately, when I started watching baseball, I only really got to see him on the Reds, but I definitely read about him when he was on the Mariners and more towards his peak. Number five to me is Ken Griffey Jr.
Got you. Go ahead, Mo.
Not being a big baseball guy, but I would definitely go Willie Mays, Barry Bonds, Ken Griffey Jr. I'm gonna throw a wild one out there because I've seen the guy, I saw him do it in big moments. Mario Rivera. I'm gonna go Mo. I'm gonna throw Mo in there, and then I'll throw respect because of just the history and what I've seen with the numbers and stuff and what he can do as a pitcher and a hitter. Babe Ruth.
Barry Bonds on steroids was the best baseball player you'll ever watch in your life. But yes, I left him off because of it's very obvious the exact moment this man took steroids. Like the size broke, the HGH. Like if anybody doesn't think that Barry Bonds took a ton of steroids, I got some oceanfront property in Idaho to sell you. I can't. It's like putting Pete Rose on your list. I just can't put people that absolutely cheat the game of baseball on my list.
All right, gotcha.
Yeah,
What's yours, Coach? I need to hear yours. You didn't even pick your team.
No. I'm letting y'all eat more. All right, but I'm gonna name my team. So definitely I gotta go with Babe Ruth. You gotta go with Babe Ruth. I'm gonna put Shohei Ohtani up there, man. I can see something crazy in that dude. far as a pitcher and a hitter, I know we said of all time, but I think he's going to be one of the greatest of all time once his career ends as a pitcher and a hitter. He's dominant in both. It's one thing to be dominated in both. He's dominant in both. It seems like the only time the Angels win is when he pitches, when he actually pitches a game. That's the only time it seems like that's when the Angels win a game, is when he's on the mound and he's pitching and he hits a home run by every goddamn day. Every goddamn day you pitch to him. So it's like you can't pitch to him. And then it's like when you're on the mound, he's getting 12 strikeouts and he's blowing you away with that 101 in the zone or up out of the zone, whatever. Regardless, he's dominant in both. I'm gonna put Mariano Rivera. I'm gonna go Barry Bonds. I'm gonna go Barry Bonds on that one. And I'm gonna actually go underrated. I'm gonna go underrated up on this. So I'm gonna go Jeter for me. I'm gonna go Derek Jeter for me. So
we put, and again, Mariano Rivera is the greatest closer of all time. But we're going to put him as far as one on the list of greatest baseball players of all time. We're going to put it close. You got starting pitchers who have a duration of 6, 7, 8 innings, and you're going to let one guy go 1 inning and say he's the greatest baseball player on the list of greatest baseball players. I can't do. Again, nothing against Mariano Rivera, but a guy who only plays 1 inning in a ball game, I couldn't do that.
I love that you're somebody that likes to argue as much as I do. I love that. A lot of debate shows need that.
I love this. I love doing. That's why I got my degree in sports journalism. Goodness gracious, growing up, I love First Take. I hate the people on First Take, but I loved it because I love the debate style of sports. That's what's so great about this. So absolutely.
To anybody that is discrediting the Shohei Ohtani, I was hoping someone did that. Because they're like, oh, he hasn't done it for long enough. Y'all do realize he played 5. We asked best player in baseball history. We didn't say Major League Baseball history, right? We said best player in baseball history. And he did it for 5 years in Japan.
He still got more time. He's going to tell you that dude.
If you add up the 5 years he played in Japan and his pitching stats over there, with the 320 average every year that he had, it's insane what this man is doing.
Yes, but you understand the talent level in Japan is not Major League Baseball, though.
It's first of all,
it's still. I'm not. And I wish I had opportunity to play in Japan. I never had the kind. I had talks with people in Japan to potentially go play in. I love Japan baseball. It's not Major League Baseball, though.
This is not the Chinese basketball league.
He's still the best player in Major League Baseball.
Talent. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it's still talent, but goodness gracious, how many times we see guys? It's not very often we see guys come from Japan and have outstanding careers. You can on one hand you can put them out there. And Ichiro, you see guys like Daisuke Matsuzaka only had a handful of years. But as far as Ichiro, Hideki Matsui, and Shohei Ohtani are the main ones that you see that have great careers. And you can go to Hideo Nomo back in the 90s as well, but they have great careers. It's not a lot. Guys fail they come from Japan.
Because the prime of their career, they're playing in their home. You do realize that Hideki
different, though. It's more about the game is different. It's differently played. Pitchers particularly struggle in the United States because in Japan, they pitch every 6 days. Versus the United States, they pitch every 5 days. Japan, they throw bullpens, and I've played with guys from Japan. They throw bullpens every day, 100-pitch bullpens every day in Japan. They don't do that here. The things that we do in the United States are so different to what they do in Japan, and that's why guys flame out. The other side, I will credit about Shohei. Shohei is built like an American. If you see how big he is thick and strong. He's not a typical built Japanese ball player. So again, I that's why he is doing what he's doing. But guys in Japan, you have a handful that the success of how great they are in Japan, it does carry over to the United States, but it doesn't happen very often. So again, I'm not discrediting what he did in Japan, but I'm not sitting here saying, oh yeah, this is exactly what he's doing here. We're going to add it to what he did in Japan. Not a lot of guys have success carry over.
You're right, but not a lot of guys have to move to America because the Japanese baseball league pays very close to what Major League Baseball plays as far as per player. So hold on. I'm going to make a statement, and I want you to try to discredit it. The Japanese national baseball team would win 120 games and the World Series if they played 162 game regular season. They would be the best baseball team you've ever seen in the history of baseball. That Japanese national team that just won the World Baseball Classic would be the best team. If you took that whole team and moved them to Major League Baseball, they would be the best team in baseball, and it would be bar none. They would destroy teams' bullpens.
Team. It's an all-star team.
They have 14 teams.
So you put an all-star team of Major League Baseball players. You know what they're going to do? They're going to do the same thing. They'll run shot through it. But you give me the Dragons, give me the Tokyo Dragons, and put them over here, or give me the Giants and of Japan. Take an actual team and put them in.
They'd be better than the A's.
Huh?
They'd be better than the A's.
Oh, everybody's better than it. My LSU Tigers that won the College World Series is better than the Oakland A's. That doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean come on. If you take
I think the talent differential level between the Japanese Baseball League and Major League Baseball is very comparable to the NHL and the KHL, and a lot less comparable to the NBA and the Chinese Basketball League. I think that levels, Major League Baseball is a step up, but it's not 3 steps up. It's not 5 steps up. It's not 10 steps up.
The differentiation of Japan and the United States, the talent level. I'll say this: they are very talented. The talent level is. I won't say the talent level is equal to what we have in the United States. What makes them different, what makes Japan different, is the fundamentals they have. They are. I mean, I got to watch live Japanese baseball team, the national team play when I was younger. It's like watching an orchestra perform. How beautiful it is that when they do an infield outfield practice, it is like an orchestra performing. It was just flawless as can be. The footwork, the mechanics, the movement. Right. It was all beautifully done, and I'm using just being a baseball guy myself. That's why I'm speaking so eloquently about it. It was just magnificent. It was magnificent to be able to see. So the fundamentals of how the game is played in Japan is night and day different to how we do it in the United States. That's the separator. Talent-wise, the very talented ball players in Japan love Japanese baseball. But you take the team, the number 1 and number 2 team in Japan. You put them in the Major League Baseball. You put them in MLB. They wouldn't compete. I don't think playoffs. Huh?
They wouldn't make the playoffs.
No, they would not make the playoffs. No, they wouldn't make the playoffs.
But when you have Yoshida, who came over and he looks great for Boston, you have Yamamoto, who still has not came over from Japan, who they're trying to get him over. He's a slugger. You have Shohei. You have Ichiro. You have guys that have come over and been dominant in the game. That you have now. Granted, you're right. You can name them on 2 hands. Who the guys that come over and been dominant, but there's still good Japanese basketball players that are on rosters. There's just a lot of them.
Absolutely. But you're not facing in Japan. You're not facing the best of the best every night like you do in MLB. So again, I'm not taking away what Shohei's done in Japan. It's phenomenal, and the hype was there in Japan. But I'm not sitting here saying what you were doing it against some of the best pitchers as a batter, and you were facing the best batters on a nightly basis in Japan, though. And what he's doing, what he's doing today over the last 4 years or so, by all means. But if he continues this for another 5 years, and he's doing this for a 10-year stretch in Major League Baseball, different conversation we have, 100% different conversation. But I'm not including, because again, if we talk about that, then Ichiro's the hit king. If we want to sit there and say what he did in Japan, Ichiro is the hit king of baseball, but he's not though. Because
you conveniently left off Darvish, Kenta Maeda,
and I'm
guys that are
not conveniently. I may have just overlooked. This might be just overlooked because again, I know Darvish has been phenomenal. He had a stretch where he's kind of dropped down. He's rediscovered himself, and he's been phenomenal again. So it's not conveniently. I just may have overlooked those guys in the process.
I'm kidding, but I mean, there's a lot more than you think there are. In my
opinion. There is, but you have a lot that don't last as well.
Gotcha. So
I love debating with you, bro.
I love it, man. I'm loving it. I'm letting y'all eat, man. It was good that I could take a step back and not use my voice. You guys go ahead and cook. All right, so we got the last 2 segments, start, bench, and cut, and we got Mo's boxing segment coming up. So we got start, bench, and cut. We got the new nickname, Mo, Jimmy Two Shoes. I think you answered this. Jimmy Two Shoes, aka Jimmy Butler, Trae Young, and Donovan Mitchell. Start, bench, or cut. Mo, who you going with?
I'm starting Jimmy Buckets, benching Donovan Mitchell, and cutting Trae Young.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
I looked at her to start bench cut. I'm like, what?
I did the other day, but I just want to get y'all other guys' reaction.
Correct.
Go ahead, Brett.
No, I definitely agree with that. Trae Young's just such a negative on defense. Like, he's a phenomenal playmaker. Like, he's got a lot of positives to his offensive game, but at the same time, just his shot selection's terrible and his defense is non-existent. So, yeah, I'm cutting Trae Young.
All right. Jay?
Yeah. I was never really high on Trae Young when he came into the league. I think there was a lot of hype about it. He's performed well, but again, I just think there's not a lot to his game that what he brings, and he's kind of fallen below expectations. So for me, Jimmy Bucket start, Mitchell bench, and I'm cutting Trae Young.
All right. So here we go, Jonathan. Here we go. So start, bench, and cut. David Robinson, Moses Malone, Jokic.
Ooh.
Got it.
All right, so
you got him thinking. You know,
I'll go.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm gonna start Jokic, bench Moses Malone, and cut David Robinson. Moses Malone was a monster. I know he gets lost in the shuffle over the period of time, but at his peak, at his prime, just dominant. And dominant on both ends. He was an underrated defender, destroyed people on the boards, like just a relentless competitor. If you put the amount of effort that Moses Malone has in his game and you transfer that to some of these bigs or any other position in this era, it would amplify them. That's how hard a worker, that's how tenacious a player Moses Malone was. Look, I'm not gonna bench Jokic or not. I'm not gonna cut Jokic just because he's such a complete player. This, to me, no offense to David Robinson, was a really, really good player, Hall of Fame player. But the other two guys, I just think they're levels above David Robinson.
Gene?
I'm starting Moses Malone. I'm benching Jokic, and I'm cutting David Robinson. Nothing against David Robinson. Love the guy. The Admiral was legit. But Moses Malone had 11 seasons where he averaged over 20 points a game and 15 rebounds a game.
Yep.
We forgetting that? Like, the guy was incredible. And not to mention, he was an all-world defender. He was a much better defender than what Joker is. Not against Joker. Joker's 2-time MVP. But, man, are we really just discrediting? Moses Malone should be starting.
He played
that's what makes it difficult, because the first two scored and played really good defense in guarding the basket. I know Jokic is a 2-time MVP, but a complete player. If we want to talk about complete, so I would start Moses. I would bench David Robertson. I would cut Jokic because, again, at the end of the day, I know what I'm getting out of the first two. I'm getting 20-plus points. I'm getting 10 to 15 rebounds easily, and I'm getting a few block shots. Jokic doesn't do the defensive side. He gets the rebounds, but being a protector of the rim, being able to, and I know, and Gene, I'm contradicting myself 100% from what we had our earlier conversation. So don't kill me already.
I waited for you to say it.
But comparing the three of them, comparing the three of Robertson, Moses, and Jokic, two of them are going to get me rebounds. Two of them are going to block shots. Two of them are going to protect the rim on defense, and they're still going to put up their points and do what they need to do as well. So start Moses, I bench Robertson, and I'm cutting Jokic.
Great.
So when I look at Moses Malone, David Robinson, they're good to really good on offense. when I look at Jokic, he's going to have an argument as arguably the best offensive center, at least one of them of all time.
Yep.
I'm not cutting that. In fact, I'm starting Jokic because I think too on defense, I think Jokic is a tad. I think they overblow his bad defense, overblow how bad he is on defense because I actually think he's a pretty good defender. He's just not a rim protector. He's got good hands. He gets steals. He gets deflections. He's normally in the right spots. It just, instead of trying to block shots, he goes for a little swipe down move to try to strip the ball, kind of like what you see out of like what Kobe used to do at the rim a lot, like 6'6" guards, except that's kind of Jokic's flaw. He's 7 foot and he doesn't use it all. But I think that Jokic just is so good on offense when you can take Monty Morris, Facu Campazzo, Will Barton, Jeff Green, Aaron Gordon, and you make that a top 10 offense.
Exactly.
And you still give Golden State 30 a game even though you lost. Like you averaged like 30, 12, and 6 in that series.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna go start Jokic. I'm gonna bench Moses Malone. And I think the big difference to me between Moses, David Robinson, and Jokic too, Moses is a major playoff riser. You're talking about a guy who is giving Kareem almost a 2020 game in the playoffs. He was giving Kareem the business. Jokic raises his game in the playoffs. You can argue that David Robinson doesn't raise his game in the playoffs, and you can argue he's a playoff dropper. So give me start Jokic, give me bench Moses, and I'm cutting David Robinson.
I think the gap between Moses and David Robinson is bigger than the gap between anybody on this list. So, like, I get what you're saying, starting Joker. Like, I follow that, but I think that when you look at Joker or David Robinson, you can make an argument or a comparison between the players. But I think the biggest drop-off is when you look at what Moses Malone did versus what David Robinson did. Like, if I want defense, if I want somebody that could be a rim protector, David Robinson might be the guy I go with over Joker. I'm not going with him. I want what Joker can do in a full roundabout effect in the NBA. Yep. But when I look at the gap between Moses and David Robinson, Moses did everything better. I don't think there's one thing David Robinson did better than Moses.
Especially in an era that was we probably consider one of the best eras of centers that David Robertson played in. And you had Hakeem Olajuwon, Shaquille O'Neal, Alonzo Mourning, Patrick Ewing, all competing as far as who was the best center in that era. I mean, that's, like I said, I think that's probably one of the better eras we ever see just for centers alone. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, for the body of work that he did. Yeah, that's why I do have him. Again, I know no disrespect to Jokic, and I agree. And Jokic is going to probably go down as one of the best offensive centers of all time. But look at the era he's playing in center wise to what it was that Robertson played in, where guys just bodied each other up that down low, and you had you had Shaq, you had Mourning, you had Ewing. You had Olajuwon, you had Mutombo. I mean, my goodness gracious, there's not a single one of those one of those guys that are in the league today that Jokic has to compete with at center. They're essentially trying to do away with the position of center at itself because of where the players are today. So if we're talking about in the center, what the whole aspect of the position, that's why Jokic is off the list for me, and I have Malone and Robertson starting in bench over Jokic.
I love you, bro. It's Robinson. It's not Robertson. It's Robinson.
I could have sworn I've been saying Robinson.
No, it's fine. But
my accent at times, if I've said Robertson, that's my fault. But I thought I've been saying Robinson.
Hakeem Olajuwon would have made that way tougher. But Coach does not allow Hakeem slander on this show.
No.
I'm kidding, Coach.
Yeah, you did. It's fine, but I don't think it's nothing for a dude to slander him about every big name center got up on him. They should know about him. Everybody should know about.
I was kidding.
Pretty much. Nah, I know. So we got two more. We got probably one more. All right, so we gonna start this at the top with Mo. Paul George. Paul George, aka Playoff P. That's what they call him. I don't call him that. We got James Harden and Kyrie. Who you got going with?
Oh, wow. Pandemic P, man. Oh.
That's rough stuff right there. You know what? We're doing it. I think I'm gonna start Kyrie. I think I'm going to start Kyrie.
Look at y'all.
I think I'm going to start Kyrie. I think I'm going to start Kyrie. I'm going to actually bench James Harden and cut Paul George. I'm going to take the other two because I've seen Kyrie on the biggest stage, and he showed out in the finals. Kyrie's a monster offensively. He came up big when he needed to. Look, James Harden has not won a title. That's not lost on anybody here. But if we're looking at the course of his career, at the very best version of James Harden, he's an MVP. He's also a guy that led the league in scoring and assists multiple times. And as the best player in the team, he's led a team to the conference finals multiple times. Paul George's claim to fame is, I think he did that once or twice in Indiana. But he really hasn't come up big since he left Indiana. If I'm going to go on the breadth of their careers and what they did in the biggest moments, I'm going to take Kyrie Irving. And I'm going to go with James Harden, and Paul George will be sitting next to Kawhi, benched.
If I'm not mistaken, though, before Gene get this off, I think Paul George, correct me if I'm wrong, everybody. I think Paul George made the conference finals once. That was with the Clippers. With Kawhi Leonard, I believe.
He never did it with the Pacers? I thought he did it with the Pacers.
I don't think he ever did it with
Miami. I thought he went against Miami.
He did it with the Clippers, though. I know he did.
Okay.
If I'm wrong, just correct me. Just anybody correct me. But go ahead, Gene.
I mean, this is a tough one because they all have fundamental issues. But I'll take the two guys that like to play basketball over the guy that doesn't like playing basketball. So I'm cutting Kyrie. Kyrie, listen, we can keep living on what he did in 2016 with LeBron all we want, but he's shown you since 2016 that the guy doesn't like playing basketball. He makes teams worse. Every team he goes on, he makes worse. Boston Celtics got worse. Brooklyn Nets got worse. Like, let's not lie to you. The Dallas Mavericks for the 20 got worse. Kyrie's cut. I can't. He was trying to stop the bubble play when he wasn't even involved in it. He's like, yeah, I think we shouldn't play. You're not even involved. Why are you even? Kyrie doesn't like playing basketball. So Kyrie will be cut off my list.
Right.
It's tough between.
Go ahead.
It's tough between who I'm going to start and who I'm going to bench. On one hand, Pandemic P, who doesn't show up in the playoffs at all, but plays both sides of the basketball, versus James Harden, who plays non-conducive winning style of basketball, but has multiple MVPs and is the greater overall player. But if I'm starting a team and I want to build around one of the three, I'll take Pandemic P. I'll start him. I'll bench James Harden, and I'll cut the guy that doesn't want to play basketball.
Go ahead, Brett.
So I definitely agree with that. I'm cutting Kyrie because I want to keep Paul George regardless because of his two-way prowess. Best two-way player on the list, I want to keep him. So if I have to compare between James Harden and Kyrie, I think James Harden peaked much higher than Kyrie. They were talking about him in the same on offense. They were talking about him in the same breath as Michael Jordan in 2017, 2018 during his MVP years. Like, his run with the Rockets was absolutely insane. So to me, if I have to pick between James Harden and Kyrie, it really isn't all that close to me. Now, if I have to pick who to start, I'm more of a two-way guy myself. I want to build around two-way players, guys who are going to play both sides of the court. So I'm going to start Paul George. I'm going to bench James Harden. And then we're going to cut Kyrie. Oh, Freddie's on his way.
Oh, Lord. Here we go. Go ahead.
We're already past 2 hours. Don't even let him in.
Go ahead.
Don't let him in because somehow he's going to try to bring LeBron into it.
Go ahead, Jonathan. If I let him in, then that's why I got bodyguards right here. I got Jonathan, especially Jonathan and Gene. I got bodyguards if he do come up. So let's go ahead, Jonathan.
So real quick, Paul George with the Pacers made it to the Eastern Conference Finals 3 straight years.
Okay.
3 straight years.
Okay.
And they lost to the Heat. They lost to the Heat all 3 times during the stretch.
Okay.
So I have something about James Harden I just don't like. I just it's something again. I've never been a fan of James Harden. Paul George, I'm starting, and again, I think he's been killed a lot in his career, and there's a lot of times you could sit back. I think we forgot a lot of the moments he's had. It's just, again, he's had a run-in against the Heat, with LeBron, Wade, and Bosh. But that he led those Pacers teams. I mean, him, and it was Roy Hibbert. Again, there was not a lot that you had to do, like you could have done against those Heat teams. But 3 straight years he made it to the Eastern Conference Finals with the Pacers. He was able to take an Oklahoma City Thunder team that was basically selling off. In years you lost Harden, you lost Durant, and now you go to Oklahoma City, and you were still able to get to the semifinals with 2 straight years with Oklahoma City, and then being able to do what he's done. And I know the health is the biggest question mark for him, but we forget how great Paul George has been, as well as the moments he's gotten to the point. It's just a matter of he's ran into teams that just were stacked. They had better teams. Golden State. They lost to Golden State when he was at Oklahoma City Thunder. Lost to the Heatles. I mean, it's unfortunate for his career, but he has a lot of great moments. So I'm starting Paul George. I get the whole hatred of Kyrie and what he's done, and I agree actually what was said by Gene that every team that he's gone to since leaving Cleveland, every team he's gone to has actually gotten worse with this. But the talent-wise, what he is, he's a phenomenal talent. This is it. There's just something about James Harden I just don't like. I just, again, not taking away the talent what he is, but my goodness, you're talking about someone who he likes playing basketball, but he loses sight on what he showed up purposely to Brooklyn out of shape. We questioned Zion Williamson's size and what he is and how he did. James Harden purposely, did not want to do anything basketball related. Show up to camp looking like Charles Barkley on TNT right now, and everybody expected him to be like still the same basketball player that he fell off during that time frame until he finally got in shape. So I just something about James Harden I just don't like. So I'm starting Paul George, I'm benching Kyrie, and I'm cutting James Harden.
All right, Fred, go ahead.
First off, Coach, you gonna need more than these bodyguards to stop you. You gonna need Jesus himself.
I'm trying to get some stuff going, Fred. I'm trying to start some stuff. Go ahead, Fred.
But you know what? I'm sitting back watching, and I'm gonna commend you guys. You gentlemen done a hell of a job today on this morning show. Shout out to the chat and everybody. You guys done a phenomenal job. But let's just be honest. I'm tired of the Kyrie slander. All I hear is Kyrie Irving slander. Kyrie this, Kyrie that. Good God Almighty, we could build a house without as many slander. Cottrell made a great point. Out of all of those guys, they're the only one that have championship experience. Only one. I mean, and we can't sit up here and blame Kyrie because the way that he came in, approached this Dallas Mavericks the second half of the season was very important. What Kyrie showed me is that, okay, yes, I know I was not reliable in the past. I know in the past that basketball was not important to me. I know a lot of things happened, but ever since he came into the Dallas Mavericks organization, if he was not hurt, he was playing. He showed that basketball was what he mattered. And this offseason, it showed that basketball what matters. So right, are we going to sit here and talk about you take James Harden over Kyrie Irving? Gene, you pray every night, sir. You pray every night. No, I'm calling it out. You pray every night to get James Harden off your team. You pray about it. I
would pray even harder if I had Kyrie Irving on my team.
No, you wouldn't. If you knew Kyrie Irving, no, you wouldn't. No, you would not. If you knew Kyrie Irving was,
how you gonna tell me what I would do, Freddie?
Because I know you.
Did Kyrie Irving not try to get in his contract that he only has to play 60 games per season, and that he didn't want to play back-to-backs, and he wanted to be able to take retreats for 5 days at a time during the NBA season without any penalty?
Not this new one, no.
Oh, you know why he didn't do it on this new contract?
Because he knows that if he messed this opportunity up, he's out the league. But what I'm saying,
you just made my point. He knows because if he messed this, no, you called my name out. You want the smoke? You're gonna get it. He knows. Like, no. You don't call my name if you don't want my answer. I'm gonna give you my answer now. Kyrie Irving tried to negotiate in his contract that he didn't want to play more than 60 games out of an NBA season. That he wanted to take 5-day retreats and didn't want to play back-to-backs. And then what you said a minute ago was, well, he knew if he messed this opportunity up, he wouldn't have any opportunities anymore. You're talking about a guy that forced his way out of Cleveland because he didn't want to play with LeBron. He wanted to be the head dog, then complained about it in Boston because he had these young pups around him and Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. The team got better when he got hurt. Did they not? Did they not get better when he got hurt?
Gee.
Then he tells Boston, let me finish. Then he tells the Boston fan base, I'm coming back. I'm going to come back. And then after that postseason goes and signs with Brooklyn. Then he tries to stop the bubble from happening because he didn't want to play basketball. Then after that, he has a situation where he takes time away because he wants to, I'm hurt. I need time away from
he
the
said his sister had a birthday party. He said his sister had a birthday party too up in that area too.
Just want to take time away from the Brooklyn Nets just for no apparent reason. So yes, he doesn't want to play basketball.
Gene, you didn't let me finish my point. See, just how I let you finish your whole soliloquy. I need you to let me finish because I'm cooking something. See, right here, we got gumbo. I'm taking a little bit of this out, taking a little bit of that out, because in gumbo, you have all kind of flavors. But what I'm saying, Gene, is even though I agree with you, I slander Kyrie Irving probably more than anybody. I know what he did in Brooklyn. He's the reason why that team didn't win. He's the reason. But what I'm saying is you take all that away, and if he wants to play basketball and he's committed to basketball, I guarantee you will take him over James Harden any day because he's a better fit. He's a better player. He reminds you of another version of Allen Iverson. And I know you loved AI when he was with you guys back in the day.
Did you just say Kyrie Irving was a better version of Allen Iverson?
No, I said he's another version of
Kyrie
of Allen Iverson. I will never say that he's better than AI.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, could you imagine Kyrie Irving and Joel Embiid together? That would be deadly. And
I can just imagine if he had heart, because Kyrie Irving without heart, with heart, is considered Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson had heart.
Maybe if you have the right person that can hold him accountable, maybe Kyrie Irving be legit. Nobody
had that though.
Where?
LeBron. He had that with LeBron, and he didn't want it. He didn't want it.
Correct.
But guess what? With LeBron, they won a championship. But something went left, something went wrong. We understand that. But outside of that, who else have held him accountable?
Who's posting for the Wire to Wire page? My hands are up. I'm not posting this.
We know who else held him accountable.
Because he went to teams, like was said, he went to teams that he wanted to be the guy for.
Yes.
He wanted to be the guy. So when he goes to a team, again, you had Jaylen Brown and you had Jason Tatum, who were still very young at the time when Kyrie got there. Now, you put Kyrie on the Boston Celtics today, I think it's a whole different story because Jason Tatum has cachet. Brown has cachet. Where they could probably now sit down with Kyrie and say, "This is not your team. You are following us." But he went to a team. He wanted to be the guy. He went to Brooklyn, and then he was getting KD. KD doesn't lead anybody.
Jonathan, no, hold on. At that time, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, they haven't done it in the league where they could have said it. No.
Right. That's why. Yeah. That's why I say. Like, he wanted to be the guy. He went to the Celtics, who had two very young guys that were still getting their feet wet in the league. But when he went to Brooklyn, he was the guy in Brooklyn who wanted KD. Again, KD doesn't lead anybody. KD doesn't want to lead anybody. He doesn't want to be a leader of the team. He just wants to go play basketball. So, again, KD wasn't going to hold Kyrie Irving accountable. James Harden was new to the team. He wasn't going to hold Kyrie accountable. So who was going to put in Brooklyn? Who was going to be the one that held Kyrie accountable, say, show up, play basketball, let's go. Now he's in Dallas. Luka's still trying to get his feet wet at this point. So almost like you're replacing the Celtics with the Mavericks. Is Luka going to be enough is Luka going to be enough personality to put accountability to Kyrie? I don't know.
You don't have to, Jonathan. You know why? There's the same problem in Brooklyn. The general manager there, I forgot his name, let Kyrie off the hook. They kept supporting him. They were so afraid to
They supported him because it was KD's friend.
But guess what? At the end of the day, there comes a time where you have to draw a line in the sand, Gene, and you got to hold people accountable. I don't care if friends or not. If we want to win a championship, every team, every player have to be held accountable at some point.
I agree with you. The problem is But Kyrie has showed us time and time again that he doesn't like playing
But
basketball.
I will say, ever since the moment he entered into Dallas, he has shown that he is willing to
So
sacrifice.
for 20
He's willing to
games
be
during a contract year, he showed that he was willing
That's
to
a start.
sacrifice.
That's a start.
Freddie,
That's a start.
it's a contract year,
wanted
and he
that
had
money.
20 games left.
That money.
So
Like,
I'm gonna tell you, it's a good sign to see Kyrie Irving at the summer league. That's a good sign. That shows, okay, you might be really invested in us because
we
we've
realized
seen guys.
Kyrie didn't want to re-sign in Dallas, right?
I understand that, Gene, but guess what? He knows that he has to prove himself, that he has to show that he's worthy of being with the Dallas Mavericks. All I'm saying is it's blasphemy to cut Kyrie Irving on any bench cut start over James Harden. That's the basketball player. I'm talking about basketball wise.
Well, I
You could guarantee
I had Kyrie over Harden, but at
And
the
I'm
same
not,
time,
by the
though,
way,
me
hold
too.
on, Jonathan. Hold on, Jonathan. By the way, I am the GOAT, but I'm not typing that neither. I'm just saying, ladies
Dylan.
and gentlemen.
But,
Oh,
but
why
for
you
the
gotta throw my
Kyrie,
shot?
the last point for Kyrie though is not necessarily he has to prove himself for the Mavericks. He has to, at this point now of his career, he has to prove himself to be an NBA player because he's a headache. He's been a headache. He's been a headache on teams, and as Gene said a little while ago, every team that he goes to gets worse. When he leaves, they get better. So at this point, the cancer is Kyrie. He has to show himself to be the one that fits in. And that's something Kyrie, we've known about Kyrie for a long time. Kyrie does not fit in anything. He is the round peg in a square hole.
You're correct.
All right. And so, I mean, at this point, he has to figure out how to fit into this team to be a NBA player.
No, he don't. No, Jonathan, hold on now. See, I'm tired of this. Everybody want to slander Kyrie Irving names. It's time to hold Luka accountable. Luka needs to adjust. It's not Kyrie. Luka needs to.
You just like saying blasphemous off the wall stuff.
No, I don't, Gene. That's fact.
Start calling him Skip Freddie. Freddie
No, that's
Skip.
facts.
Skip Henderson.
So it's okay to just let Luka do what Luka do. I mean, it comes to a point where we have to hold Luka accountable.
Luka's still young though. Like he's still young in his career. Kyrie is not young in his career.
So if
Like,
this
at
dude
this
is
point-
averaging, hold on, Jonathan, come on, bro. There's a lot of times where people on this same panel has criticized somebody that's young. What are we talking about? What are we doing here?
Because of what's going on with Kyrie, off the court type of stuff, the things again, the distractions. Let's just put it that way. Not necessarily bad things off the court, it's just the distractions that it was known this all season. As it said, Kyrie didn't have a lot of offers. Kyrie didn't. So that tells you teams don't want the distraction anymore. They're not infatuated with the player. The talent is there. Like I'm not gonna discredit. Kyrie is a talented ball player. The talent is there. He is a good basketball player. But the distraction now, what was shown by the league, the distraction is not worth the talent. The Mavericks were the ones who just said, you know what? Yes, Kyrie, we'll take you back. Here's your contract, what you want. Again, I thought the Lakers were going to be the team. I really thought the Lakers because of what we said. The only person in the league that is being able to hold Kyrie accountable that he ran away from, and he's been vocal saying, you know what? My career was better with LeBron. So maybe going to the Lakers, maybe playing with LeBron again is something that's going to benefit me. I thought the Lakers would be the team. Lakers didn't want him. No team really wanted the distraction of Kyrie. So at this point, if he fails in Dallas, I don't see another team really taking a chance on him because of what he is, and it's a distraction.
Jonathan, let me kind of inform you on something. It's not that the Lakers didn't want Kyrie. It's just that the Lakers wanted more depth, and they wanted chemistry. That's something they've been lacking for the last couple of years. It's because I guarantee you, if they could have just replaced him with D'Angelo Russell, they would have got Kyrie anyway. But they didn't have the money to afford him. It's not the way he acted off the
Can I address Homer Simpson in the chat?
Go ahead.
Throw Homer Simpson's last comment up.
All right, you talking about? I think.
Oh no, you can't do Trae like that. Bro.
Homer Simpson over here. The only reason he's sticking up for Kyrie Irving is because Kyrie hit a big shot to give his Cleveland Cavaliers a championship. It's the only reason he's sticking up for Kyrie. So you don't be listening to Homer Simpson's blasphemy in the chat. Okay, so the Celtics haven't won a damn thing since Kyrie left, but they got better.
They were in the NBA Finals.
Correct. They got better. They won the Eastern Conference since Kyrie left. Kyrie has not done anything as a primary player on any team. Don't call it like it is. LeBron took that team to the finals without Kyrie and took them with Kyrie. Let's not lie and pretend that Kyrie Irving has won something. That's not how it works. Like, if you want to say that, then hold on. I'm gonna think of one real quick. Give me a Nuggets player that didn't really play. Oh, Bruce Brown's a winner. He's a real winner. No, he won a championship because the Denver Nuggets were the best team in basketball. Like, let's stop calling Kyrie a winner because he played with LeBron James.
He is a winner. What are you talking about?
He's not a winner.
He is a winner. He had like one of the biggest moments in NBA history. What are you talking about?
I'm glad.
What are you talking about, Gene?
I think mid 2010s LeBron, he was dragging everybody to the finals. I agree. Kyrie Irving played super well in the finals. He was a phenomenal player in the finals. But let's be real, he drug a team with Kyle Korver in the promotional poster to the finals in 2018.
I'm about to lose my hair right now. I cannot believe the things that I'm hearing. Gene, brother, I don't know what you drunk last night before you went to sleep. I don't know what happened, brother. But shake back, just shake yourself. Because you mean to tell me that Kyrie is not a winner? This dude had the biggest moments in NBA Finals history. The biggest moments.
Let's not say moments.
He had
step back 3-pointer. I'm glad. So did Mike Miller.
Do you realize who was on the basketball court at that time where nobody could score anything? Anything.
Okay.
Steph Curry. Yeah,
James Harden's a winner too. Didn't he hit that fallaway 3-pointer versus Boston in Game 5?
What has he won?
He won a playoff series.
Okay,
he's won MVPs before.
Okay,
but the point I'm trying to make is don't make an argument for a guy hitting one step back 3-pointer in the finals and call him a winner.
He had games in the finals. He was dropping 40. He was straight out balling.
Kyrie Irving played with LeBron James. That's why he went to the finals. He'll never go to the finals again. He'll never do it again.
We're going to diminish co-stars. So let me guess. You on the gravy train that Michael Jordan didn't need Scottie Pippen. So I'm just saying.
Please don't compare Kyrie Irving.
Come on, Freddie.
No, I'm just saying that we cannot sit here and discredit the co-stars. That's all I'm saying.
Let's say you can't argue that Kyrie, he did do his part in the finals. He did play really well. Like, we can't diminish that.
All I'm saying is Robert Horry is a winner. He had big moments in big playoff games. Derek Fisher is a winner. He's had big moments in playoff games. With J.R. Smith have had big moments in playoff. We've seen guys. So don't sit up here and say he's not a winner. James Harden isn't the winner. He hasn't won anything.
Not
Chris Paul, anything. Russell Westbrook, anything.
The only thing Chris Paul hasn't won is a championship. That doesn't mean he's not a winner. That doesn't mean
he's not a winner. Yes, he's not a winner.
He hasn't won a title. That doesn't mean he's not a winner. He just hasn't won a championship.
I'm not disputing, that Harden. That's what I said. Harden was not on my top list of it. It's the sheer fact that, again, Kyrie's success is always going to be tied with LeBron. That's what it is. It's always going to be tied with LeBron because of what has occurred in his career post Cleveland. He hasn't sniffed the success that he had with Cleveland with LeBron next to him. Since then, he's gone from team to team to team, and nothing has gotten close. He's not even gotten close. Even when he had KD and Harden, that didn't do it. They weren't good enough, and it imploded in Brooklyn for them to basically say, all right, we give up after a year and a half, 2 years. They just said, all right, we're done with this. This is not going to work. I mean, the Kyrie's success is tied to LeBron. Post LeBron, Kyrie has no success equivalent to what he had with LeBron.
Can I ask you a question, Jonathan? I want clarification for the viewers.
If you're going to leave that comment up there, I got to be able to respond to it.
Go ahead.
You can. I'm going to ask Jonathan a question.
No, I'm going to respond to this first, and then you can
I just saw that.
So Cottrell is just lucky that LeBron James blessed that dog crap city in Cleveland with a championship. Because if you go through the history of Cleveland, I don't think how many championships has that city won in the last 50 years? Let's not talk about that. I don't know what championship DNA looks like because LeBron James blessed your city with one championship in the last 50 years. Cleveland's a toilet bowl. So, like, let's not pretend that Cleveland's a more winning city than Philadelphia. The Eagles won in 17-18. The Philadelphia Phillies won in 2008. So let's not pretend that Cleveland, this toilet bowl of a city, is a winning city because LeBron James blessed your franchise with a championship. He blessed LA with a championship. He blessed Miami with 2 championships, and he played longest for Cleveland. So don't feel special that the second greatest player in NBA history had to leave your city twice.
Now I want to ask Jonathan a question. Are you talking about just because stuff Kyrie was doing off the court? Or are you just talking about? Are you saying that it wasn't a good basketball fit? The reason why they wasn't successful. Just want to ask that question.
It was both. It was both.
No,
it was both.
No,
because
no,
at the end of the day, was the pandemic stuff, was the pandemic and not being vaccinated. Am I going to hold him accountable for that? I mean, everybody can. He made his choice not to be vaccinated. He wasn't allowed to play in the state of New York or in the city in Brooklyn. Okay, it is what it is. So I'm not necessarily pinpointing that side. I just don't think I think that those 3 guys verbally bought in to the idea of playing with each other, but it was never going to work. It was not going to work.
That's false. That's
because
false.
you have 3 guys who have to score. And have not, and no one was going to be the one to sit back and say, let's figure this out. Let's figure this out. Because again, you have 3 egos. KD is an ego. Harden is an ego. Kyrie is an ego. At what point? What made the Golden State Warriors work? Steph didn't have the ego to say, you know what? Hey, I'll sit back. KD, you do your thing. I'll sit back. Let this be your team for here, and we're going to win the championship together. Who was going to, of the 3, was going to be what Steph did for Golden State to win a championship? Of the 3, who was going to be the one to step back and say, hey, I'll step back, you take it, let's go win a championship? They didn't, though.
That wasn't the case, sir. I agree. Off the court, that if anything slowed them down, it was Kyrie's foolishness off the court. But when they played together, their record was crazy. Like, they barely lost. Like they was unstoppable. The little time that they did play, they barely lost. Like nobody could stop
Or
it.
were they 6-2?
No,
It was 8 games that they played together.
It was more than that.
They were 13-3 in 16 games.
And I'll even throw that in there. Just the health. I mean, again, KD's health declined. I mean,
But I'm talking about basketball. Like, you mean to tell me there's nobody that can really stop Kevin Durant? Now, these last 2 years, we've shown that okay, he is human. But before that, there was nobody stopping Kevin Durant. Nobody can stop Kyrie Irving.
You brought up a couple statements, Freddie, and I'm going to address both of them, right? I don't think Kyrie Irving didn't get the vaccination because he really cared about the science behind it. I think Kyrie Irving didn't get the vaccination because he didn't want to play basketball. Now, with that being said,
Jonathan said that, not me.
Oh, it's the truth. He didn't want to play basketball. I agree.
I agree.
Calling it like it is. And the second part of it is, it's funny how that conversation, I won't get into that. We'll go viral if I end up saying that. But it's funny how that vaccination conversation kind of ended when it was proven to be an absolute myth. Sorry.
And by the way, Jonathan said that, but I agree everything. Like, Gene, this is what I'm saying. Like, bro, I criticized Kyrie a lot when the whole thing was going on. I called him a horrible teammate. I mean, because we've heard players say, "I'll always do whatever is best."
So
for
when
the
has
team.
that changed then? Yeah. When has that changed, Freddie?
But what I'm talking strictly basketball. If he's willing to play basketball, you can't tell me, Gene, that you would take James Harden over Kyrie Irving.
That's the point we're all making, Freddie. How do you know he's willing to play basketball? When is him being a horrible teammate has changed? Like, the
last 20 games of the season showed me that he was down to play basketball.
So, Freddie, the last 20 games of the season in a contract year where he needs to get paid in the offseason, where he didn't start a disturbance in Dallas, and that's what you're referring to?
Well, it's a start.
See, I did throw out the vaccination thing. I did say that, but here's the other reason why I did for this. Because he wasn't able to play half the games of the season in home. And there was a lot of reports that it was almost like a betrayal by KD. Like, I came here for you. You're not following. You're not gonna do what you need to do to play. all the games. You're not going to do. Again, that's his choice. I'm not vaccinated, so I'm not going to sit here and kill Kyrie for that side of it. That was his choice to do so. But that was something that you brought KD and Harden to Brooklyn, and they've been very vocal. There was a point where they didn't even speak to each other for a while. KD didn't speak to Kyrie because of basically almost feeling like, hey, I came here to win a championship with you, and you're not even here to play the games with me. You're not even here to be able to play. So there was a lot. There was a lot of friction. Were they good on the court? Absolutely, they were good on the court. Were they going to be good enough to win a championship? No, they weren't. I don't believe they were going to be good enough to win a championship. Even if all three of them were healthy and doing what they were supposed to be doing, they were not going to be good enough to win the game because of the sheer fact of the issues that took place with all three of them. All three of them did not see eye to eye a lot of the time.
You can laugh all you want, Freddie, but it's very he's right.
No, what I'm laughing at is that I looked up at the time. I said, "Hey, this show be good on 2.5 hours." That's how good the show is. That's how fire this show been today. That's what I was laughing about. But I don't know. Well, hey, Gene, I just love to ruffle your feathers, love to get under your skin a little bit. But I just heard all the craziness. And I said, man, let me hop on the show.
Hey, Fred, I want you to stay up here for this one right here. It's just the last star bench and cutting in. We'll move on to Mo's side. Miami Heat, LeBron James. You have Miami Heat, LeBron James. You have Kobe Bryant, and you have Kevin Durant. Star bench and cut.
I'm starting the Black Mamba. I'm benching LeBron, and I'm cutting KD.
Mo?
Starting LeBron, benching Kobe, and cutting KD.
I'm actually surprised you didn't cut Kobe, sir. I'm just saying. I'm just surprised you didn't cut Kobe.
Hey, Freddie, he would only get cut if Jordan was up there too. Then his ass would be cut.
There we go.
I mean, I was surprised that you chose Team Morton. I'm like, what?
He gonna be cut for who's better than him. He'll be cut.
LeBron wasn't better than him at that point.
It should have been Jordan
Yes,
up
he
there.
was.
He wasn't better than LeBron.
Yes, he was. Let it go.
At that point, Kobe was the best player in the game.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he was.
I think this one's quite easily. 2013 LeBron is one of the greatest basketball players we've just ever seen.
Freddie must didn't watch basketball back then.
I actually think that Freddie gives the wrong answer for almost every single statement. Like I've never seen somebody like if he was in school, he would have like a 20% hit ratio.
I love Kobe, but I really think that Miami LeBron, especially 2013 when he was canning 40% of his threes, he's coming up second in DPOY. Like I think that version of LeBron is better than Kobe, and I really don't think it's actually that close either. I think there's a pretty big gap between the two. I would bench Kobe and I would cut KD.
Got you, Jonathan.
I don't think KD got it.
Starting Kobe, benching LeBron, cutting KD. I mean,
thank you.
I know that time period of LeBron. LeBron. That was the best version. Again, he was still thick. He was still bigger and stronger than everybody. He was still faster than everybody. That version of LeBron was amazing. And I'm not a LeBron fan and everything like that, but. Kobe was for the duration of his career and everything like that. Kobe was always on another level, and he was always considered the best of the era that he played in. Even when LeBron was at his peak, there was still the talks of what Kobe was and is and how he was doing it. So start Kobe, bench LeBron, cut KD.
Yeah, I'm starting 2013 LeBron. I don't even think this is debatable. I love Kobe.
So a guy that plays with Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, like, come on, bro. What are we doing?
Freddie, you make an argument for LeBron James being the greatest basketball player of all time, and yet you're benching him over Kobe Bryant, who's on your list fifth.
What a hypocrite.
Like,
No. Kobe's not fifth on my list. What are you talking about?
You said LeBron was 1, Jordan was 2, Kareem was 3. Yes, you did.
No, I didn't. You need to go back and rewatch. Jordan's not number 2 on my list.
So Jordan's not number 2 on your list?
He's not even number 3.
You're embarrassing.
Your list is flagrant.
No, it's not. It's LeBron, Kobe, Kareem, then Jordan.
No.
Yes.
Terrible.
You shouldn't be
not
allowed
terrible.
to talk basketball anymore.
If Kareem had a personality and if Kareem had emotion, he would probably be the GOAT. Everybody probably call him the GOAT.
All right, well, let me finish my statement before Freddie interrupts everybody on the panel. So I'm starting 2013 LeBron James. I think that's the second best LeBron you've seen in his whole career, behind 2015, 2016 LeBron with the Cavs. I'm starting LeBron. I'm benching Kobe, and I'm cutting KD. If anyone's starting KD on this list, I don't know what you're really watching. You're talking about two of the all-time greats, two of my top 5 of all time versus a guy that can't crack the top 10. So, yeah, makes it very easy.
Never crack the top.
All right. Go ahead, Mo. Do you think? Do you this one?
All right, this went long, but it's been a great show. I enjoyed
Nah,
it.
it's probably the best
Gene
show
and
that we got.
Jonathan,
It's the best show that we got.
that was impressive on both ends, fellas. So I really enjoyed just stepping back and letting you guys do your thing. The fighter I wanted to talk about today, go over his career real quick. Hands of Stone, Roberto Duran. Duran is one of the rare fighters, became a pro coach at age 16, won his first 32 fights, won the championship from Esteban de Jesus, lost to de Jesus in the rematch. Then he won the rubber match when de Jesus had another part of the lightweight championship. A lot of people remember Roberto Duran for what he did as a welterweight and a middleweight. Roberto Duran as a lightweight coach, as a lightweight, is one of the greatest lightweight, if not the greatest lightweight champion in boxing history. His record of 62-1, it was 62-1 when he defended the lightweight championship 12 straight times, 11 of those by knockout. He left that belt to go up in welterweight for the opportunity to fight Sugar Ray Leonard. They took that fight, I think it was in Montreal. They called it the Brawl in Montreal. Their first fight, Roberto Duran, who's known for being a pressure fighter, gets inside, brawls, can rough you up, power in both hands. He wore down Sugar Ray Leonard, didn't let Sugar Ray Leonard use his speed or his hand speed or his quickness, and he basically made it a brawl, something that doesn't fit Sugar Ray's skill set. They come back, do a rematch. Sugar Ray Leonard totally dominates Roberto Duran, clowns him, mocks him, just embarrasses him. By round 8, Roberto Duran stops, turns to the referee, and said, "No mas, I've had enough." He quit. It's one of the worst, darkest moments in boxing history. But what I want to give Roberto Duran credit for is, for 2 years, he was not part of boxing. Promoters blackballed him. It looked like his career was over. He comes back 2 years later against Davey Moore. Davey Moore was a young middleweight champion. Roberto Duran comes back, knocks out Davey Moore to reclaim the middleweight championship. He goes on to have a war with Marvin Hagler, loses to Hagler. He fought Tommy Hearns, got flatlined by Tommy Hearns. He thought his career was over then. Tommy Hearns goes on to fight Iran Barkley. You probably remember his name.
Yeah, I remember that. Yep.
Iran Barkley wrecks Tommy Hearn in an upset. They do a rematch. He wrecks Tommy Hearn again. They're looking at Roberto Duran as a pickup fight. He was a last-minute call for Iran Barkley. At age 37, Roberto Duran knocks out Iran Barkley to win the middleweight championship at age 37. Roberto Duran, like most fighters, hung around a little too long. He has over 100 pro fights, coach, but he's considered one of the greatest fighters in boxing, not because of what he did at the higher weight class, because of how dominant he was as a lightweight. Hands of Stone, Roberto Duran.
Gotcha. Great one, Mo. Great one, Mo. Nice one on that one. Gotcha. So thank y'all guys for coming on the show. Thank y'all guys for the comments, man. Like I say, I think it was the best morning show that we put together. I think we down there will be going on 3 hours. And Freddie got a little laugh.
Thing, man.
Go ahead, Freddie. I see the little laugh on your face, man. I see the laugh on your face.
Man, no, I'm just excited, bro. Like I look forward to seeing Gene and Jonathan go at it. I know Mo was going to put his twist at it. Brett comes on here, and Brett, hey, man, I'm going to tell y'all. If Brett throws out a stat, no need to Google it. No need to go fact it. I mean, this dude is like the sports Bible. Like, literally, he's the sports Bible. I mean, he knows his stuff, y'all. And I just, hey, I'm just proud. And tomorrow, We're gonna have Sports Jeopardy on here tomorrow. I can't wait. We're gonna have a little fun day Friday on here on the Sports Empire Network on the morning show. We're gonna see how knowledgeable Gene. Hopefully Jonathan come on. We know Coach gonna come on. Mo, Brett, the crew. It's gonna be fun. Can't wait. Got a lot of things in the work here at the network as well. So yeah.
man.
Hey, Gene, make sure you tell the folks what's going on tonight too, man. It's gonna be fun.
Yep. Go ahead, Gene.
If you like my debate style, we'll have a debate style show tonight. It's a cross show. It's the Empire guys, sports guys in the Empire group is going to have a 2v2 or around the horn style debate tonight, 10 p.m. It'll be simulcasted on Sports Empire Network. It'll be on the Sports Guys, and it'll be on Notoriety Sports. Freddie is going to moderate tonight. Dylan's a little sick. My guy, hope you feel better. But Wire to Wire success last night. We already have 100 downloads from the show. So I appreciate all the support we've gotten there. And so thank you guys.
That's amazing.
Man. That's amazing, man. Shout out to everybody. And shout out to Freddie, like I said, pointing out to the whole team yesterday. Thank y'all, man, for having me, the host of this morning show and hopefully host of many more, man. We appreciate y'all. Mo, tell the people they can get you at, man.
At the home, Sports Empire Network. I will see you guys again on Coffee Sports in the morning. Looking forward to being part of the show this coming Monday with the Cheap Seats with Gene and the crew. So I'm looking forward to that because I missed last Monday. But that's where you can find me.
Missed you, brother.
Yep. Brett?
You can find me right here on Sports Empire Network, Coffee and Sports. I plan on restarting writing articles too, so you can kind of catch me on as many shows that I can be on and as many articles as I can write.
All right, we got the new guy, man. Like I said, I just want to say welcome, man. I'm happy to have you a part of these. It's been a blast these last 2 days. Have you on here and kind of putting Freddie in check a little bit, giving him some of that knowledge. But go ahead, Jonathan, tell people that.
I always appreciate it. Like I said, I love doing this. I love talking sports. And I love debating. So it's something that I find a lot of fun doing. You can check me out on here with you guys, here on the show and everything. And also, I said yesterday, I coach baseball and softball for the youth ages, part of my own organization that I run. I'm going to be traveling here pretty soon, but you can come check out all the great work we're doing with the kids, helping them grow as athletes, helping them achieve their dreams of playing college baseball and softball one day. So you can check it out at Alpha Performance Baseball, Alpha Performance Softball. On Facebook, on Twitter at B_N_Alpha Performance on there. So check us out and see all the great things we're doing with the kids.
Where are you from, brother?
I'm originally from New Orleans.
Where you living now?
I live in Fort Worth, Texas.
Okay. I have a bunch of friends of mine up here do Rake Baseball Academy. Mm-hmm. Very similar stuff, trying to help a lot of young kids move up in the next level. So.
It was a goal of mine. Once I retired from pro ball, I wanted to be able to get into coaching a little bit more, and like I said, help the kids out. I mean, I had that with me when I played. I want to help the next generation do the same.
Yep. And again, shout out to the LSU Lady Tigers for winning the national championship. They may even repeat. That team is crazy. And the LSU baseball man. Shout out to them guys, man.
Hold on, Coach.
Go ahead.
Jonathan, we appreciate everything that you do, what you're about, but Jonathan introduced you wrong, brother. Ain't nobody on this panel put me in the place, Coach. I'm sorry. Not even the great Gene, wire to wire Gene. I just had to correct you on that.
Give me time.
Go ahead, Gene.
Hey, Gene said that a year ago. I'm still waiting on it.
I mean, I've done it so many times. Your own friends be telling you in the sports chat I'd be cooking you. What were you, medium well yesterday?
I was on the cooking.
So Monday night, the cheap seats, me, Kyle, Mo, Dylan. Wednesday night, wire to wire. Thursdays, if I can hop on here, Coffee and Sports. And Thursday night, the Guys Empire. Thursday nights we're gonna do 3 podcasts in one night. Birds Deep is gonna start on the 26th, I think it is 27th, last Thursday of the month. 27th. It's gonna start the Birds Deep back was the Philadelphia Eagles podcast with me, Cool McCain and the Godfrey. And then pregame and pigskin starts on the same date. Myself, Kyle Edwards, and Matt Godfrey, the Godfrey, doing as many shows as humanly possible. We got a lot of big things in the works. You might see me on Sirius Satellite Radio very, very soon.
Gotcha. So no introduction for me, man. As for me, your host of the morning show, as co-host of 7200 Seconds, my partner in crime, Key, as another host of NBA Above the Rim, a new show we got coming out next Friday. It's going to be about the off season of the NBA. So I say no introduction for me. As your boy Coach, your boy Boss Man. Go ahead, Fred. Go ahead.
Hey, Gene, look like Doug just entered the chat.
Big time.
Big time right there.
Yeah, I'll be watching Doug's podcast. He does the Cowboys talk and the Lakers talk, and I get in there as much as humanly possible, but I can't take any more. Dak Prescott's going to win the MVP this year.
Yeah.
Bro, I'll tell you right now, if I want to have a female over, if I could just mute Doug's voice and just play the music in the background, his music be popping. I'm just kidding.
As for the boss man, Freddie. As for Mo Better, Brett, Jonathan, Gene, we'll see y'all next morning. And one more thing I want to say. Hey, Doug, we need King Doug on that wrestling show, man. But other than
I want to see that.
Other than that, man, we'll catch y'all later on today, man. Shout out to everybody. Have a good rest of your day.